And there we are. We're live. What's up, everybody who's been waiting very patiently for the start of this stream? We've had a whole bunch of people kind of hanging out for about 2 hours or so, waiting for this to begin. We have a very not inspiring matchup, but interesting matchup tonight. I was just at SoFi 4 days ago for the last Rams game, where they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory against the Seahawks, who are a much better team than the Raiders are. So we'll see how the Rams stack up against an equally beleaguered Raiders team tonight. Not that each team is without talent, but both of them are exceptionally banged up, to the point where the Rams brought in Baker Mayfield this week on a whim to see if he could start some games for them down the home stretch. I'm not actually sure if he's starting tonight. I assume that's been announced so far, but I haven't got to take a look at that yet. When I watched on Sunday, it was the John Wolford show, which was about what you expected. EJ, first things first. Thoughts on Raiders Rams before we get going here?
Injuries are the tale of the tape. This is the old Battle of Los Angeles, right? Yeah. Los Angeles Raiders. I realize that's a while ago, but Vegas Raiders. Now, the Rams beat up, and it says, I just saw somebody in chat say all three Rams quarterbacks are active. So that'll be really interesting. I think this game will be better if Wolford can go and can play. Obviously much more familiar with things and played pretty well last week, was accurate, mostly with the football. Not a top-tier quarterback, but I would say a top-tier backup. And that means we get a better football product if he's in the game and can last and can go the distance. Baker Mayfield being grabbed and possibly inserted, not the greatest prospect for a great game. Raiders, have suffered from injury, but have also suffered in terms of just being in their own way and not really finding an identity outside of Josh Jacobs. Because Josh Jacobs is possibly the best running back in the league right now. He is first in rush yards.
Keywords right now.
Yeah, he is first in rush yards. He is first in scrimmage yards. He is first in rushing first downs, and he is first in yards after contact. So he's playing like a superhero. 5.4 yards per rush, 7.3 per reception. He pretty much is and has been their offense. They've found other players throughout, but they haven't established any identity besides that. And consistency, just like it has been in the past, is still a problem. New coaching staff, they haven't really meshed, gelled. Josh McDaniels runs a system that is notoriously hard for players in their first year, both quarterbacks and receivers, lots of option and choice routes. They haven't looked like they've got that all down yet. So neither one of these teams rolls into this game, sort of as the heavy favorite. Either one could win tonight based on what we've seen so far, and I wouldn't be terribly surprised if a few things go their way.
Looking at in terms of matchups, I did take, that's probably good a reason as any to look at the price pick slip. I did take the under on Josh Jacobs tonight, less than 113.5 rushing plus receiving combined. And then I did a second slip that was a $5 because I wanted to take advantage of that free Justin Herbert space. So I have 4 spaces from tonight's game. And then, if I can hit on those 4, then I basically just win because Justin Herbert's going to get at least half a passing yard, I imagine. But I took under Josh Jacobs 19.5 on fantasy score. And the reason I did that is because the Rams don't do very many things well, but they do actually stop the run pretty efficiently. They're 5th in run defense DVOA. And it's not just, teams running on them in the second half. Like, they're actually pretty good at keeping teams from grinding them away in the second half. Hence why Seattle actually had some difficulties kind of putting them away because they couldn't really run the ball that effectively and that often. So I actually took the Josh Jacobs under tonight. Not that he isn't great with all the reasons you alluded to, but the Rams defense, at least stopping the run, it's one of the only things they actually do effectively. I also took Davante Adams over half receiving touchdowns, so I'm just assuming that he and DC are going to hook up somewhere in the red zone at some point. If there's one thing that I think that we've seen this year, it's not that Jalen Ramsey's regressing, but there have been a couple cracks in the armor, and I think that he's not quite making the same plays that he used to, where he would kind of just be a superhero. The DK Metcalf touchdown last week was a good example of that, where he used to be able to, if he was outside leverage, he could still kind of slingshot himself under and make a play on that kind of ball. Not so much anymore. I think he's lost about a half step compared to his prime. So I think Devontae will be able to get him in the red zone. And then Derek Carr, in the absence of the run game, I took him over 247.5 passing. And then obviously I got the Herbert free space. And then Tyler Higbee. I took Tyler Higbee from a systemic standpoint because I didn't know who was actually going to be playing quarterback, but I do know that regardless of who's going to be playing quarterback, I kind of feel like Sean McVay is going to make it easy on him, and we're going to get a whole bunch of like play action slide routes to the flat, stick routes, that kind of stuff. And I think Higbee's going to be the recipient of some easy kind of rhythm completions, which I would imagine would add up to at least 27 yards receiving. So that's the slip I took for tonight for the free space. And then I took a sixer on a whim. Same over for Derek Carr. I did over 89.5 receiving for Devontae Adams. Again, I did the under on Josh Jacobs. I took Bobby Wagner over 7.5 tackles. He's been a little bit of a tackle machine this year. No surprise, it's Bobby Wagner. I took Tutu Atwell over 24.5 receiving because, again, I feel like if we're going to get some of those flood concepts off play action, he's going to be the mid-level threat that benefits. And then as an ode to you, EJ, I took Mac Hollins over 3.5 receptions because anytime Mac Hollins is available, I'm going to take the over just for you. What say you?
Just for me. That's awesome. I like your slip better than betting on a kicker. You hit on
the kicker slips were bad this week. They were like over 7.5 points. I was like, that's a little rich. I don't know.
I love that you're like this week. Kicker slips are just bad. But you hit on a lot of the things that I saw when I went back and watched both of these teams' most recent couple of games. For the Raiders, pass rush is creating some production, hits and hurries. The Rams is as well. The Rams D-line is better than the Raiders, but the Raiders is still productive with 4. We already talked about Josh Jacobs. And Carr is still making questionable decisions with the football. We can argue about why. We can't argue about if he is still doing it on the field. That's going to give the Rams some opportunities, regardless of Jalen Ramsey's half step. Getting into the Rams, their offense has only scored TDs twice on opening drives this season. This is not even last year's Rams. I was going to say your dad's Rams, but that's not even close. It's not even last week's leftovers Rams. Wolford, we talked about being very accurate with the football. Tutu Atwell, much maligned in terms of a draft pick overall for the Rams, but that guy has some hands on him. He made 3 catches last week that were like, ooh, He is not big. Yes, he is super fast, but he can catch the football. We say it all the time. It's in the job description, wide receiver. Brandon Powell, really talented dude with the ball in his hands. He's sort of everything. They use him a little bit at running back, a slot receiver, can run in space, has some speed, showed a little bit of power, even though he's a smaller guy last week. Just a fascinating guy to keep an eye on as this game goes on. Tales of Cam Akers' demise were premature. He was their short yardage power guy last week, scored a couple times. And Bobby Wagner, still a man possessed, not as fast as he used to be, still a very intense and smart football player, ends up in the right place a lot of times, really strong, almost ripped a ball away from one of the Seahawks last week with the call. They said that maybe it wasn't moving. Who knows? But the CBs in general, you touched on Jalen Ramsey. The Rams corners are not playing really well right now. They look like shell coverage. They look like prevent coverage. They're not in there mixing it up. There are a lot of easy outs on the sidelines. There are a lot of catch, rally, and tackle type defenses. There are not a lot of contested balls, balls that could have been interceptions that were really close. They're basically hanging back and sort of letting people catch things right now. And it was staggering. I mean, Geno had a great day, but a lot of those receivers were open. Saved the touchdown to win it to Metcalf. That was pretty tight coverage. Ramsey was there. He couldn't beat Metcalf for it, but he was on his hip. There were a lot of throws throughout that game where there was a semicircle of Rams DBs about 3.5 yards away from a receiver. Ball came in and they all converged and tackled. That's no way to run a railroad. You're not going to have a great defense if you're not contesting the majority of catches or even say half of them. And the Rams right now aren't. So it's strange because they have a really good pass rush. Usually that's what you see when defensive backs are left in coverage for too long. But the Rams front four gets through and creates pressure pretty quickly. It's kind of surprising that their corners aren't a little bit better right now.
Chat's telling me my audio is only coming through the left again, and now I'm not sure why.
I didn't do it.
I did download new drivers.
I believe you, especially
All right.
after last week.
All right, I think, you know what, chat? I think it's time for me to get rid of the Focusrite. I've been battling with this thing all season long. I think it's time for me to get a new audio interface. If you guys have any suggestions, if you're in the audio world and you have any suggestions, she served me well over the last 5 years. I'm done. This thing is just, it's giving me so many problems. Also, I'm building a new PC, so, might as well just throw it in while I'm getting all the other parts.
I'm keeping mine. Mine works.
Yeah, well, mine's old. She's battle tested, but I think it's time for me to get a new one.
Brian says he's got you in both.
He has me in both. Okay, I wonder if it's headphone specific. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
That'd be really interesting.
What's my budget? Hockey's. When it comes to quality audio experience for the audience, I don't have a budget because EJ knows this about me. I am an audio nerd.
I was gonna say I'm just gonna let him
I will
fill in an answer here.
I will throw money at the problem to make you guys have a good experience. So whatever the budget is, all I got to do is just plug in a fucking USB mic, a Shure SM7B, and have it come out the computer sounding crispy. That's all I need. You would think a Focusrite would accomplish that, but apparently not.
No, as far as Brett and audio, the answer is it doesn't sound good enough. Right?
It never sounds good enough.
It doesn't matter what we get; it doesn't sound good enough. Whereas even audio engineers are like, I don't know, man, it sounds pretty good to me. Does it sound okay to you? I'm like, don't ask me. I'm not the audio guy. Like, I think it sounds great, but I thought the old one sounded great. So no, we do what we can to make this experience sort of ever better for all of you. We really appreciate all of you hanging out with us for Thursday night games, supporting Prize Picks because, of course, they support the pod. This week, they're giving everybody free stuff. A free square is great. Justin Herbert is going to throw for more than half a yard. So you get that one thrown in. So if you're looking for that 6-leg parlay to get 25 times, you basically only have to get a 5-leg parlay because you've already got one. Same thing if you're going for the 5. You really only need 4. So perfect time to sign up, get your deposit matched up to $100 using our code bootleg. That helps us, and the free square helps all of you because that was why we hit our big Thanksgiving leg parlay was we had the free Justin Jefferson square. So maybe it's just the free square with a Justin in it is a good omen. We'll see.
Write down some coverage data. What are we, like 15 minutes away from kickoff?
Yeah, it's just about straight up 5 o'clock at this point, and we've got 245 people for a late season Thursday game just starting to warm up. I figure we'll probably about double that for the actual game itself, and gives the peoples what they want. They got the whiteboard back.
I'm looking ahead to what the Rams are going to be facing. Because the Raiders, even though Gus is gone, the Raiders are still a pretty heavy cover 3 team. So I kind of want to get these down for people to understand. 55.6% cover 3 on first down is top quartile in the league. That's a lot. Even by the league standards where everybody loves cover 3. Cover 3 is the most common coverage in the league. 55.6% on first down is a lot. 47.5% on second down is a lot. And then even on third down, they still run it 35.7%. So, what does this mean, EJ? It's the night for crossing routes. It is the night for crossing routes.
Yeah.
Which is why
be cover 3.
Whoever is the Rams quarterback tonight, that's a big reason why I took Tutu. Because Tutu is going to be in the slot, and they are going to give him those crossing routes off a flood. They're going to call spear. I highly doubt they call like sluggo seam or something that would set him up to get pulverized by a safety in the seam. But I do think in terms of compromising those single high structures, somebody with his kind of speed and, as you mentioned, catching ability, actually being able to catch contested balls, I think these percentages are a big factor in taking the over on Tutu. I don't know if he's going to catch a lot of passes tonight, but I do think the ones he catches will be for chunks. And then also when it comes to cover 3, not that that's a coverage that is impossible to stop RPOs from, but teams do find it easier to run RPOs against cover 3 because it creates a little bit more conflict on those apex defenders or on the hook defender, depending on the type of RPO they're running. So I do think that the Rams do have a path to success here on offense. It's not a great path, but it is a path. And we'll see what they do. Again, it's Sean McVay. He's a great coach. I'm sure he'll find some way to score here, but just keep those numbers in mind. Get into a couple super chats here before the game starts. Kel for $5. Evening, guys. Since it's been a few months, EJ, how's life as your own boss? What's been the most surprising thing about the transition?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Life is great. In terms of being my own boss, it's always a challenge. My boss is a dick, but I know where he sleeps, so that's okay. And I argue with him all the time. It's really just there's a lot of good things to do. There's no shortage of good things to do, and it's choosing the one you think is going to be the most effective or going to have the most impact, and learning from those choices because you're not always right. The most surprising thing, how little time you have. I think about how much time I spent on all of this when I was also doing a full-time job, about 43 hours a week. Typically is what I spent at my other job. And then I did everything that I'm doing sort of now on top of that. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to have 40 whole hours. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like I got about 10 or 12, which is great. But there are so many things to do. And there's this illusion that I have a lot more time than I do. And I struggle against that because I'm like, I want to get all this stuff done. And then you get like one of 4 of those things done. And, somebody asks you a really cool or interesting question about, why this week I got asked why the Seahawks aren't fitting the run very well. And I was like, oh man, I would like to spend 3 or 4 hours and dig in and see why the Seahawks aren't fitting the run very well. I haven't gotten anywhere close this week. So that's probably the most surprising thing, but life is awesome. It's really cool to be able to make those choices. And we're kind of getting to a different busy season here. We're already winding up for draft season, although the regular season hasn't wound down at all yet. We're just getting to the good part with the playoffs. We're already sort of on to next and even next, what are we going to be doing in the summer and whatever else. So it's just sort of taking off all those hats and figuring out like, what do you have to do for now? What do you have to do for next? What do you have to do for like the down the road thing or the pie in the sky thing? And it's just keeping all those balls in the air, but it's awesome. I love it. And I wouldn't choose anything else.
Yeah. The one, first of all, I know exactly where you are because I was there as well. A few months into it when I was fully 100% full-time into this. And you get to a point where it's like, it's 4:00. What the fuck have I done today? And you try to, like, you were doing things, but you're actively trying to remember what you did and then magnify that by doing it 365 days a year. And you look back and you're like, wow, I accomplished a lot. But in the moment, it feels like you're the most unproductive slug of all time. Just gotta remember, take things one breath at a time, one day at a time. It gets better. Next super chat for Trackstar 121388. What a name. $5. Thank you, Trackstar. I was at the Bears versus Packers game last weekend, and I have to say Justin Fields feels like a must-watch in-person player. It was so fun to watch him. I think he's the kind of guy, and I have the same reaction to Justin Fields that I would have had with Lamar. And I did see Lamar his rookie year in Atlanta. And that was speed that I think it's tough to really understand until you see it with your own eyes. Until you can see a human moving that fast with your own eyes. Against other professional athletes, it's almost difficult to comprehend, what kind of athlete that is. And Justin Fields, I think, falls into that category because, remember, he was clocked at 4.4 while stumbling in his 40-yard dash. Like, he's a legit 4.3 guy, but he also happens to just be built like a brick shithouse. Like, he's very much a generational physical talent up there, if not exceeding the likes of Allen and Herbert and even Cam Newton. When you combine the speed with the strength and the arm strength and everything like that, every day I thank God that 2 teams, being the Panthers and the Broncos, fucked up and took corners ahead of him, because that was the luckiest, in my opinion, the luckiest moment the Bears have had since I don't know, 40 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, that moment is luckier even than that. Really, it comes down to one of our great nemesis is on this podcast, Dave Gettleman. Like,
Yeah.
if Gettleman doesn't make the choice he makes in that draft, the Bears get no shot at drafting Justin Fields. And they really didn't have a legitimate shot at drafting him at 12 anyways. Like, it never should have happened 100 ways. And there's this cascade. And my other podcast partner, IJB, have looked at this multiple ways from multiple angles, multiple times, because it is a franchise altering moment. And it, quote unquote, should not have happened. And when it did happen, we were all like, did that just happen? But Justin Fields is different. Like, people say, oh, he's him and he's built different. Yes. And yes, entering this season, no QB in NFL history had ever had 350-yard rush TDs for their career. No TD in NFL history, or no QB in NFL history. When you say no blank player in NFL history, you're talking about a lot of players. Justin Fields accomplished that feat in a month.
Mm-hmm.
So no players for all of NFL history. Justin Fields comes along and does it in a month.
When they finally committed to this style, by the way, because it took until halfway through this year for them to realize.
It's the mini buy.
Yeah, that was literally what it was, where they're like, you know what, let's just beat Baltimore for like half a season and see what happens. And then all of a sudden they do it better than Baltimore did.
Yeah, and when you watch him take off, it really doesn't look like he's going to make it, right? But he does every time. Like, you're like, he kind of looks like he's chugging because he's a big dude, right? He's not a, super tall, super slender. He's a well-proportioned guy for his size. And when he takes off, you're like, they'll catch him. Mm-hmm. Like, those guys back there, they're fast. They'll catch him. And he, like, stays even or pulls away. And you're just like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's a big guy who can really just move.
Jared called for $2. Brett, if I give you a play call, can you draw it up? What nomenclature are we talking? Are we talking Shanahanese? Are we talking the McDaniels version of the Earhart Perkins? Like, I mean, if you start throwing out language that multiple people call different things, I can do my best. Wait, are you going to make me draw the dick play? Now that I think about it, he's going to make
If it's Jared, he's going to make
he's going to draw the dick play. He has this play that he loves where it's it's two post corners that kind of come up and then he has like a divider that goes up the middle. Which theoretically, theoretically could work against certain cover 2 looks, just saying.
Right. Depending on how you run the release.
Connor Sewell for £5. Hey guys, nice to finally make one of these. Thanks EJ for the Mac Hollins prediction preseason. Won me multiple close fantasy games. If there's one person that EJ loves on planet Earth, more than me, more than his family, it's Mac Hollins.
More than you and my family. I love Mac Hollins because I really thought Mac Hollins was going to be one of those great, we call them glue guys or bottom of the roster guys that you need, that are really good on special teams, really, have long NFL careers, because there is a role for those guys. He's exceeded all that stuff. He's completely blown it out of the water. I liked the receiving reps that he got at UNC. I didn't love them. I wasn't like, oh, here's a diamond in the rough for a, number 2 wide receiver that's going to get 600-700 yards in the NFL. That wasn't my prediction for him. It was more like a 3rd, 4th wide receiver that was going to get 300 or 400 and play all 4 phases of special teams for 6 or 7 years. And that was going to be extremely viable NFL career for Mac Hollins for where he was picked. Like, he's done all that, and he got his chance and he started showing up at his last stop, and then since he's arrived for the Raiders, he's arrived, and it's always so cool when you see players do that. Like, we want to see players at the top level of their ability. Mac Hollins is way above what I thought the top level of his ability was, and that's even cooler when they just blow the lid off and you're like, okay, so yeah, he's freaking great. Like, I thought he was going to be really, really good, and he's just great.
Reminder for those that weren't here at the beginning when we showed the slip the first time, because people have been trickling in. We have 2 slips tonight. One of them has the free space from Justin Herbert at half a passing yard. That's the $5. So if we hit all 4 of those tonight, then we basically just win, because we're going to get Justin Herbert as the 5th. And that'll pay out 10-1. So give us a nice $200 boost tonight. And then we got a 6er. This one's for $500 all from tonight's game. Mac Hollins is on there, over 3.5 receptions, over 24.5 receiving yards, over Bobby Wagner, 7.5 tackles plus assisted tackles, which is very doable for him. Under 113.5 rushing receiving for Josh Jacobs, over 89.5 receiving for Devontae, and then over 247.5 passing for DC. So if you're interested in tailing this slip, especially as a Sixer, where there's 25-1 payout if we all hit this together as a family, again, that is the entire slip. Wish us luck.
Oh, man. I didn't realize that was combo yardage for Josh Jacobs. I'm just looking back at all of his games from this year and seeing how many you would have hit on if that was the number.
For rushing plus receiving?
Yeah, so you wouldn't have got week 4, week 5, week 7, week 28.
Against most defenses, I would have taken over.
Denver.
It's against this one specifically that I'm taking under, just because they're really good against the run.
Chargers. Yeah, he's unfortunately. This is betting against recent history. Typically, how I prepare for these games is not going back and watching every game in the season or everything else, because so many things change during the course of a season, and with injuries, it's really about where are they now? What's the current snapshot? And at most, that's about a three-game look back. And if you look back at his last 3 games, he had 109 and 51. 229 and 74 and 144 and 6 for his last 3 games. So he's on a bit of a heater. You're betting for regression here. You're betting for to be the cooler.
Keep in mind, for receiving for a running back, a lot of his receiving production this year has come against middle field open coverages, in particular like cover 5, which is cover 2 man, because one of the best ways to beat that is option routes out of the backfield, because there's going to be a linebacker that is literally head up on a running back in space with no help because everybody else is in man coverage and the safeties are deep. It's one of those coverages that does not bracket the running back out of the backfield. So against Minnesota, when they were playing it against the Raiders, Jacobs got like 30 yards on 2 catches against that until they stopped calling it. So when I look at the Rams defense, which, as we mentioned, very heavy on cover 3, very heavy on middle field closed structures, period, which a lot of different middle field closed coverages through either design or just the way that they're drawn up tend to bracket the number 3, which is usually going to be the running back. It's a lot harder for the running back to get a shitload of production unless it's like spot drop zone cover 3, which nobody plays anymore, because in the mid 2010s, I think the death knell for like spot drop cover 3 was the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl, where they just hit James White over and over and over again. Teams really stopped calling it after that because he got like 12 catches in the last 2 minutes on that one coverage. So mostly it's going to be match 3 or like one rat, which brackets the running back. And it's from a schematic perspective, it's harder for me to see Jacobs eating as a receiver. Hence the under here. Now, it's Josh Jacobs. Wouldn't be surprised if he breaks one anyway and makes me look like a fucking idiot. But all we could do is go off schematic tendencies here and what we think is going to happen. So we'll see.
Does it really take Josh Jacobs to do that?
No. Everything makes me look like a fucking idiot one way or another.
No, not everything.
Lucas for $5. Besides the pass coverage glossary, what books do you recommend for someone with some playing experience but is becoming an analyst? So my buddy Cody Alexander has written a bunch of great material on defensive football. He just released a book which is like the complete guide to playing like 4-2-5 hybrid defenses and like 4-2-5 nickel, I guess you call it. But it's basically like if you want to live in that 4-2-5 nickel hybrid kind of world. He wrote a whole book on that. He wrote a historical book also kind of like about where that, hybrid kind of defense has come from. He's written a book all about like match quarters, and I mean, his whole thing is like how to effectively play match quarters. And he's one of the preeminent voices, I would say, in terms of teaching defensive football. So anything that Cody Alexander has ever written Coach Cody is a great friend of mine. Go buy it because he's a great teacher. Everything he writes is awesome. And if you want to learn a lot about defense, he's the one to teach it. We got the Raiders getting the ball here.
And Lucas, I'm going to ask you a different question. What kind of analyst?
True.
Right? You talking about like a color analyst, or are you talking about like
Writing articles,
a scheme specific analyst? Because there's a lot of different books that you can read besides scheme related books. I think a lot of folks focus on scheme because they want to understand scheme, and you do need to understand the generalities of scheme, like what roles are and what an offense is trying to do versus what a defense is trying to do, and how those two things mesh. But scheme isn't the only thing. There are a lot of other things. So depending on what kind of analyst you want to become or what kind of analyst you are becoming, I might say, look, if you're going to be like a color analyst, scheme isn't necessarily the way that you need to be communicating. In fact, a lot of people, you'll go right over their head with scheme. A lot of people that watch, especially like national games. But anyways, if you can answer what kind of analyst, then maybe I can give you the other kinds, because those are all great recommendations for scheme, and scheme is really important, but scheme is not the only thing.
So we had a run here on first down, and also I think on second down with Josh Jacobs. I think we got third down coming up here. Yep, 3rd and 5. So let's see. It looks like they're a middle field closed structure. I would imagine this is going to be. So, man, are they bringing it? They might be. Nope, they backed out. DC taking his shot. Go get it. Oh, my God, what a catch. Did you see that snag from Devontae? Good Lord.
I didn't, because I'm having some technical difficulties, but I will in a minute.
Jalen Ramsey all over him. Devontae reached out with one paw. Pass interference don't matter. They're going to decline.
All right, here we are. Up and going.
See if you can get the replay on this.
Here it comes.
Disgusting catch.
Here it comes. Well, if it's Devontae, it's going to go in the file folder of like, yeah, it's Devontae.
God.
Boy, the thing that is really impressive to me about that catch is the quickness of his adjustment to the ball once it hit his hand.
Yeah, he caught it twice almost.
It didn't hit his hand in the right place to just grab it, like stick snag it. He had to like get up under the center point of that ball. And the fact that he's able to do that one hand with that speed and not just have it sort of bounce off or flip over the top of his hand while he's basically getting it up to back, the rest of that catch, that's staggering. Like there are not that many people on the planet that can do that.
I'm not sure what this injury is, because a whole bunch of Raiders players started signaling for the trainer immediately, which is usually a bad thing. I can't quite get a number. Is it 64? Let me see here.
Big guy, we're about to get it. Oh, we were about to get it.
Alex Barr. Oh, man. Alex Bars, I liked him.
I do like him.
That's
former
upsetting.
Bear, Alex Barr,
Yeah.
former Fighting Irish Notre Dame player. Doesn't look good. McDaniels is headed out. That's not a good sign.
Oh, man, we got a bot early today.
Yeah,
Go
but we
crush
also
that.
got other super chats to catch up on, so we might as well do that.
All right, Jack Hunter for £5. As much as I think Brandon Staley has been shafted by circumstances, if the Chargers do move on, what names go ahead of Pep Hamilton's for the head coach job? Ooh, that's a good question.
Ahead of, I don't know. That's the caveat in that question. Like Pep has a long pedigree in this league and is very successful. And obviously he's worked with Justin before, so there's some synergy there, and hopefully you could get a quicker start. I really think if you're going to talk about Pep for HC, you got to talk about the rest of the team too, because it's not just the offense with the Chargers. They need to get their defensive house in order, and that was really what they thought they were getting with Brandon Staley. Ahead of is the tougher question. I mean, I think it'll still probably be an offensive hire if that happens, especially given circumstance that Staley was a defensive hire and it didn't work out. They'll probably pivot, go the other way. Ahead of, I don't know. Ahead of, I think there's other names that you could certainly say are going to get interviews and and have a reasonable chance and might even be surprises, dark horses in that race. But ahead
Chat
of, I don't know.
Chat pointed out Sean Payton, which is the obvious answer, but I think it depends on if the Chargers are willing to part with assets because they'd have to trade for him because the Saints still hold the rights. If that's on the table, which it probably should be, Sean Payton's a great coach, then yeah, Sean Payton jumps to the top of the list. I would also say, and this depends on Michigan winning the Natty, Jim Harbaugh. If Michigan wins it and he feels like he's accomplished everything that he could, which is, restoring the program, getting back on top of Ohio State, winning a Natty, maybe he wants to try his hand at going to win a Super Bowl again, and being one of the only coaches to ever do that, and potentially being able to, turn 2 programs into top 5 programs in the nation, and then 2 NFL teams into Super Bowl caliber teams. I don't know very many coaches, if any, that have ever done that, and that would be a hell of a legacy. So if they're willing to pay for Jim Harbaugh, he was also one that's at the top of the list, but I think he wouldn't leave without winning a Natty for Michigan first.
Yeah, it's funny. Harbaugh is one of those names that people have sort of consistently banged the table for. All right, Raiders back with the ball for a while, and ooh, there's Mac not catching one. You needed him to catch. But 2 years ago, people were banging the table for Harbaugh, and I was like, like he's not coaching very well right now. Like Michigan was having a lot of trouble, and it wasn't just that they couldn't beat Ohio State. Michigan was having a lot of trouble in general, and that program has turned around so strongly in the last 22 months. There's a lot of reasons for that. Great article in The Athletic about his sort of assistant head coach who has a lot of sway in that program and has really helped change their fortunes. But Harbaugh's star is again bright, and yes, the NFL is indeed looking. There's some in the NFL that never stop looking, although I think they probably should have a couple of years ago. But he's turned it around so significantly in the last 2 seasons at Michigan that yes, if there are GMs out there or owners out there who are thinking about Harbaugh, and there are, if he wants to leave, he'll get interviews.
2 things just happened. A screen worked on 3rd and 9, color me shocked. B, first down, you get a bare front look from the Rams, and they called duo straight into it.
Yeah.
We wonder why the Rams can't run the ball.
You mean the Rams or the Raiders?
Or by the Raiders can't run the ball against this defense.
Yeah, they hit another one right there. Look, the Rams, like you said, can stop the run. It's one of the things they can do.
They'll stop it. They'll stop it more if you schematically serve it up on a platter, though.
100%. If you're going to throw the fastball, they're going to hit it for sure. That's interesting. A penalty takes them back. Illegal use of the hands, because boy, that right side. Watch the right side of the Raiders offensive line and the left side of the Rams defensive line right here. Watch this. Watch those guys just get flat stood. And that running back is like, I might, Zam White, he might be able to scoot out to the right, but the hole closes. They held ground, reestablished the line of scrimmage. There wasn't a lot for him to do. And look at that. He's getting contact, right at the line of scrimmage. Same player that was, nailed for illegal hands to the face right there. They fit the run up front with their front 4 very, very well.
Or sometimes front 5 even. Right now they're a 4-2-5 nickel, but I mean, they still got their 4-2-5 is still 3 heavies and then 1 edge. It's not even a typical 2 DTs and then 2 edges. Their nickel is still heavy,
Yeah, it reminds me of the Seattle with the Leo, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they were running three guys that can hold their own, and then one that's moving around and is a little more flexible in terms of defensive role.
Like Brandon Meebane is your 320-pound defensive end, and then when they wanted to go faster, it's like, oh, let's just march out Michael Bennett as a 290-pound defensive end.
Who can still move?
Who can still move? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jaden Norris, Brett, where do you get your percentages for what teams run what coverages? The league was very gracious in terms of giving me access to some databases that are not publicly facing in order for me to make content for them and to get accurate percentages of things. And I have heard that said databases may be publicly available in the future, and we're hoping for that. but as of right now, they are
Oh.
not.
Josh Jacobs with a little pitch left and a lot of space out there. He had choices about where to go with that. He pushed it about as far as he can, but look how much space is created by this.
He looks spry.
He
really does.
He looks great this season. That's good blocking, and he leverages it the right way.
Oh, is he in? Maybe?
No, he's not in.
Close.
Close, very close. But this is Keelan Cole, the blocker in the slot. There's Keelan Cole, and Jacobs reads it really well. He presses that block to make the defender commit, and then gets to the side where he has the best chance, the best leverage. Ooh, that's just a straight old. We're going for it. Slam it up in the hole and see where it goes.
Oh, I think you might be like 20 seconds behind me. Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
possible. Let's see if I can.
I'm
update.
about to get the snap on the next play already.
Mine says live, but we've had this before.
Yeah, where sometimes he's in. When you're 6 inches off, just slam some bodies together and see what you can get.
Okay, I clicked 10 seconds ahead twice, and
you're
got to
back?
be more. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, they're showing the replay right now of him
Yep.
scoring.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so it had said live, but then again,
What's
We'll see.
interesting is like sometimes Amazon is ahead and sometimes Twitch is ahead, and you never really know from week to week which one's going to be.
oh yeah, that's just good old Raiders power football. We're gonna block him up and let our very powerful running back see if he can find a little crease and just mash.
Hugh Jackson's trips right off. Y counter motion. This is from Jared.
I saw
Y
it.
counter motion, deep pass 96, F sail, X dagger, kill 95 open. You can draw the play if you want, but not my intention. So trips right off, Y counter motion. So how does Hugh Jackson define counter motion? Is that a return motion? Deep pass 96. I'm not familiar with Hugh Jackson terminology. F sail, I got that one. So if he's coming out of the back, is this the same play that Clyde scored on against Bama and LSU? Because they called that F sail. Kill 95 open. At least if this is F, I'm assuming it's. So he be there and then X dagger.
Watch the wheels work, folks. You can hear them. Well, I can hear them. I can hear the tick.
My playbook from Coach Dan Casey downstairs, which I would literally pad this out on if I could, is downstairs.
That's all right. You get to it. Maybe a halftime adjustment.
Let me take a picture of this and then I'll tweet it out.
All right. So
'Cause
JJP,
I need to look up how Hugh defines counter motion.
Right. We'll catch up a little bit more on super chats. JJP for $19.99. Thank you. I am curious on your guys' thoughts on this. During my research for of a Broncos video I uploaded on Sunday, I found something. OCs who work with second tier QBs have better head coaching success than guys who work with elite tier QBs. Interested in terms of how second tier and elite tier are defined, but that's fascinating stuff. I'd love to see it. And there is a thing, and I don't know, this is if I had to give a sort of knee-jerk reaction to this without sort of seeing the depth of it, it's look at what happened. If we're just taking a micro shot at this, look at what happened to the Bills after Josh Allen's elbow injury 3 or 4 weeks ago. Before that, in the early season, it was all working. So throw out the first 4 to 6 games, depending on how you look at it. And then they hit this stretch where we started saying on the podcast and other places, oh, this looks like old Josh. These look like mistakes he made 2 years ago. Why? And they're just leaning on him. And it's because he's a superhero and he could do anything. And so they're just like, Josh, go do. And the whole team can fall into that trap of just Josh, go do. And then Josh is like, ow, I can't go do. And they're like, uh-oh, now we have to play fundamentally sound and balanced football. We need to carry the load more. We can't just go Josh, go do because his arm's hurt. That might be a little bit like your second tier QBs or middle tier QBs who can't play superhero ball. So you do have to scheme a complete offensive game plan with them as a part of it, not them as the entire centerpiece and really whole supporting cast. That would be my sort of knee-jerk reaction without digging in, but I'm fascinated by the concept. I like it a lot. So Thanks very much for
My thing is where are we doing the cutoff for tiers?
Yeah, that's what I want. I want my clarification.
It's like who's
elite and
the
what's
tier
second
one and
tier.
who's the second tier one, you know?
Yeah.
But I would say I think a potential conclusion you can draw from that is like sometimes superhuman quarterbacks can mask the deficiencies of some coaches, and then some coaches who can quote unquote elevate mid tier quarterbacks by just either defining things.
Brock Purdy.
You said it, not me.
I know.
You know, they would naturally be like Matt Ryan. When Matt Ryan won MVP, I think a lot of people put Matt Ryan as a tier 2 quarterback before his MVP. And then he became at the time, seen as a tier 1 quarterback because of the MVP. And then Shanahan left and things fell apart. And now we see what Matt Ryan is in Indy when he's older and more broken. And so I think a lot of people see that as like, oh, maybe Kyle Shanahan's just like really fucking good at his job, you know? All right, so Wolford's out there.
Yeah, I'm interested in that last run. I think that was Powell. I don't have the audio on.
I think it was too.
That felt like Powell.
I'm going to try to draw Jared's play here.
Yeah. Yeah, so the guy that Brandon Powell was dragging along there is Clelin Ferrell, who's 6'4", listed at 265, but I bet he's playing about 270 right now. And Brandon Powell is dragging him along on that last run. And that's really impressive power for a guy that is 5'8", 181.
Let's go. See, and then see. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can.
Yeah, not to get lost in all the love for the Rams defensive line, which is amazing. Period. End of story. The Raiders defensive line, right on cue. Right on cue. Max Crosby just blew that shit up. The Raiders defensive line is playing pretty darn well. This is just Crosby being Crosby. Crosby was always an elite athlete. He's continued to add technique and experience. That's just ridiculous. Max Crosby athleticism. Max is a very big human being. Look at him just flat out dive and snag that. Again, Powell, 5'8", 181. Crosby, a much larger human. To be able to see him leave his feet like that and make the tackle, it just speaks to the fact that, they list him at 6'5", 255. He's probably playing about 250 right now at this point in the season. Still, to be able to basically just jump stop and snag that guy's legs and completely snuff that thing. When we say Jimmy's and Joe's versus X's and O's, that's Jimmy and or Joe, or in this case, Max, just blanking things.
Did I draw that right, Jared? Going off Hugh Jackson language? I think I drew that right. Unless it's flipped and it doesn't want the X isolated and it wants the X here, and then we're doing the dagger on this side. I'm not quite sure. I took a stab. Like literally, this is just a stab. If the X is not isolated and they want the dagger here and then sail, actually that would make more sense if he wants X here and then zebra there and then we're running sail, and then that would actually make more sense.
That's not stab. That's not a diagram for stab.
I think I had it backwards.
No, I'm just taking a stab, not stab the play or stab the route. Oh goodness. Austin Cole for $4.99. Bears should draft Carter/Anderson at 2, or should the Bears draft Carter Anderson at 2 overall, or should they trade down, take offensive line, Smith and Jigba or Johnston? What comp should they get for a second? That is open to interpretation, because if they are trading down from 2, it is from quarterback, and quarterbacks break all the rules, especially in the top 10. So the compensation is whatever the hell they can get, and it will be a lot. It will be at least 2 number ones, probably 3 number ones if they're at 2. It is a very, very valuable pick, immensely valuable if they remain at 2 for when the draft actually occurs, and they will get a king's ransom for sure if they choose to move down, because it will be for a quarterback. And when it's quarterbacks in the top 10, you can take all the charts and chuck them out the window because it's, whatever the buyer will give you. And if there's multiple buyers, which there likely may be, you just keep your mouth shut until people stop throwing things at you. You're like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. Sure, I'll take that too. Yeah. What do you got?
I'm not sure if we answered this one already. Brett and EJ, favorite football video game. Mine is NCAA 14/CFV revamped. I would say the Madden that had Troy and Larry Fitzgerald in the cover. I can't remember what year that was. That was the GOAT Madden. That was my favorite.
I love the Madden minicamp drills, and I know they haven't been around since like 10 or 12, or I haven't played Madden regularly in a very long time. But the Madden minicamp drills were awesome, and I loved NCAA football. It was great. I don't think I even played 14. I probably played something like 12 or maybe 10. But it was super fun to take, a Nowheresville franchise and elevate them up the rankings and get them up into the championship game.
Austin P national champions. Yeah, baby.
That's right. Like, Pioneer Wagon State, Pioneer Wagon Ag and Tech make the uniforms and the whole deal. And yeah, that always really appealed to my team building sensibilities. So, but if we're going old school Tecmo Bowl, it doesn't, it's not the same in terms of graphics and everything else. And yeah, the gameplay is not anywhere near as nuanced as anything that's been out in the last 2 decades. But it was a lot of fun.
Got a flag on Bobby Wagner here. I think they called hands to the face on Foster Moreau, or against Foster, or hands to the face on Bobby Wagner against Foster Moreau, I think. Yeah. That's what the call was.
It's one of those things when you are really powerful, and Wagner always has been, and you are not as fast as you used to be. He's still very fast for a guy his size, and mileage, quite frankly. It's not the years, it's the mileage. You are going to reach out, and when you've got those big old bear paws, you're going to reach out and try and slow guys down a little bit because that's what you've got, and you're going to try and use it, especially on outbreaking routes from interior alignments, and that's going to get you some holds, some DPIs, some oops, I got him in the face or the face mask. So we'll see a few more of those, but boy, Bobby more than makes up for it in so many of the things that he brings to this defense. Oh, wow. Okay,
he's lucky that wasn't picked.
He's lucky that wasn't a lot of things, like strip sack, forced fumble, his arm hitting a helmet. Like, they were really close when he threw that. This is that Rams front four. In this case, really front. No, they brought 6. Oh, no, that's the bars play. No. They brought 4 or 5. I'll have to see the replay, but they were really close. That's that Rams defensive line just keeping, and they're all good in their rush lanes, right? Their rush lane integrity was really good. There was no place for him to like scoot out and go. Oh, here you go. It doesn't count for you, but love Matt Collins as a football player.
Yeah, unfortunately not a catch though, which is what we really needed.
It doesn't count for you. He dropped the catch. This is the Coleman thing, but that's Matt Collins just saying, hey, I play special teams up. You want me to run it? I'll run it. You want me to catch it? I'll catch it. You want me to block? I'll block.
I love when they finally actually give the ball on orbit motion. Like when it fails, it fails hard, but when it works, God, it's one of the most beautiful plays of football.
And I wonder what the percentage of orbit motions that pay off with a carry actually are, because there are so many empty orbit motions.
20% maybe at most.
I was going to say like 12 or 18 or something, because they just don't hand it off. You see it all the time as a piece, as a function, as a defensive mover of a play, but very rarely do they get the carry. So in terms of the draft question, Austin, should they trade down? They should trade down if they can get all those picks, because they are not one player away. Yeah. And they will get a possibly franchise changing amount of picks for that number 2 overall. And if you can move down and stay even in the top 10 or the top 12,
there's one,
and get all those extra picks, seems like a great move, because they have their guy at quarterback.
Mark Kreutzer for $10. I know some of us went to Mater Day or whatever cough, bread cough, but watching Michael Hecht, 97 for LA, who I went to high school with, show up as much as he has in recent weeks is so novel and exciting. He actually jumped out to me a lot because, again, I was in the first row at that Rams game last week, and he had like 4 or 5 pressures, something like that, a couple sacks. He was one of the reasons that they were in that game till the very end. He's been coming on recently. Hasn't gotten very many snaps up until the last month or so, but they've needed him to step up, and he has. And also, he's gigantic, so I imagine that going to high school with him, you were just looking up the whole time. He's like 6'5", 315, something like that. He's huge.
It is. It's a pretty cool experience, though, when somebody that I'm not even going to say are close to because it sounds like you know them personally, but someone you have had close interaction with athletically or played against or was in your league or, played with one of your family members on a team has great professional success. It is a thing. There's a, hey, that guy's from here or that gal, started over there and now she's winning national championships, whatever it is. So it's really cool. If you want to throw some of those names into chat that you played against or your, big brother, big sister played against, whatever, that have gone on to success on the world stage or Olympic medals or NFL, championships. It's kind of cool. Like, I remember when basketball players from my region, who didn't play in my league, but were, local to me, 20, 25 miles, which growing up for me was really close, went to like North Carolina and
the big time.
Played for Dean, and you were like, holy crap, that guy was right down the road, man. I watched him play in high school. Like I was in the gym watching him play in high school. And, I think 4 of the 5 of those guys went and played D1 ball, from that high school team.
That's crazy.
And it was nuts. Like it was a really, really talented team. So, and it is cool. And you track those guys and I still keep track of where the guy I'm talking about is King Rice. He's a point guard for Binghamton and ended up going to North Carolina. Now he's a coach. He's a collegiate coach, head coach. So, you sort of keep up with those guys and I saw him when is a thing. Oh, there you go. A little bit of,
I got Ice Cube in the owner's box. Did you see the guy with the big Raider, the big hat for the Raiders?
Big hat for the Raiders.
I really want a big hat with bootleg on it. I really do.
Oh, I'm sure we could get one. Who was? Oh, there was a player just the other day.
Brian Robinson.
Yeah, it was Brian Robinson like 2 weeks ago. Was it my brother? My brother owns a big hat company. You need big hats, you let me know.
As a matter of fact, we do need big hats.
I think, I think a couple bootleg big hats would make a nice like album cover photo. Speaking of Ice Cube.
There we go. Bobby. They love those mug looks with him because he's such a freaking monster.
Well, he, again, with that much power and his build, his profile, he's always been really squarely built, but yet could move at ridiculous speeds when he was drafted. Ooh, jumped the center. Didn't touch him, but jumped the center.
Yeah, I think you can do it as long as you don't hit him.
I think... anyways,
I think as long as you don't touch him, you can do it.
Oh, it's fun. Athletes being athletes. Well, if I jump him and don't touch him, coach, is it still cool? Yeah, it's real cool. Can you do it? Yeah, I can do it. All right, give it a shot. No, I think bootleg big hats. You can vote in the chat. Yes, no, bootleg big hats, because I think big hats, a couple pairs of black Ray-Bans, we could get ourselves an album cover. A little sepia tone.
I have no idea how much they cost, but I'm intrigued to find out.
How much would a big hat cost? I don't know.
I'm gonna guess like $50.
I would say like $50. It's
Something
like a big foam finger or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like that's what it would be, but I don't know. Maybe they're $150 because who knows? Somebody told me what they were paying to go to a concert the other day, and I was like, those are front row seats, right?
Yeah.
Like, no,
last row.
Like, way the hell back?
Fucking Ticketmaster, those.
I was just like,
scum of the earth.
Okay, like how do kids go to concerts these days with that much money going for a quote unquote regular ticket?
Just add it to the debt, EJ. Add it to the debt. Max for 1999. Working late but wanted to stop by. Paying you two to be my friend is the highlight of the week. God, that's dark. Also, am I wrong for already being fully out on Dennis Allen after Monday? I can't imagine it would get much better even with a quarterback. I mean, they would have won if Mark Ingram just stepped out of bounds. And let's be honest, personnel-wise, this was a year that everybody expected to be a rebuilding year. Why do you think Sean Payton left and quote-unquote retired? He didn't want to be part of that. He didn't want to be part of having a rebuild. Like, I don't know. They're performing exactly like I thought they would. And they've been in some games that they shouldn't have been. They've lost some games maybe they shouldn't have. But, like, I don't know. I'm willing to give it a shot. Like, let's see what happens when this team actually gets money to work with and picks to work with, what they can do. I'll give it another year. Like, maybe another year, maybe two, depending on where they're at in their rebuild. But I'm not out yet. What say you?
Dennis Allen?
Yeah.
Dennis Allen doesn't have a quarterback right now. And it's really hard to look at any NFL coach that really doesn't have an NFL quarterback, short of a very small handful of NFL coaches. I think Shanahan's one of them who has had really good success without, quote unquote, having the guy at certain times. He has had the guy as well in certain stops, and we've seen great heights. But most NFL coaches, if you don't have a guy or the guy at quarterback, if you sort of have the what's left bin at quarterback, which is what the Saints have right now, like, it's hard to say, like, oh, he's a really good coach or he's not, because, say what you want about Daniel Jones, like, and Brian Dable, like, he was still a first round pick, right? Yeah. And yes, I know Jameis Winston was also a first round pick. I know. I think pretty much the book has, short of some Geno late career resurgence, which I really don't think is going to happen, Jameis. I think, give me a quarterback in New Orleans, and then we'll see, right? But without that, he ain't gonna last anyways. So
Baker Mayfield is in the game.
I see that.
First and 10. Let's see what he's got. Wolford's still got his helmet on, so we'll see if this is just a few plays to get his feet wet or not. But very curious to see how this goes. They're stacking the box. They don't believe for 1 second that they're going to throw it. Remember what we said about play action, flood against single high safety structures, set up the easy throws, cut the field in half.
Play action in general, right? And this is the thing, is everybody's like, oh, it's, short week, and he just got with the team, and all the terminology is different, whatever else.
Not really.
Look, Baker Mayfield has played enough football in enough places at enough high levels that you can go, hey, Baker, you know that play you ran? We call it this, but basically it's the same thing. We want you to look inside to outside on the read, right? We'll let our line, who, as banged up as it is, can probably call their own protection, right? You can call a shift if you want to, but basically point the mic, know which way the line's going, and go inside to outside on a 3-route concept. Like,
that's all Kevin Stefanski was doing with him. It's not like he doesn't it's the same shit.
Right. So you can have 10 to 15 of those in a package within 3 or 4 days. Yeah. It's not like he knows the whole playbook. It's not like he knows the whole 2-minute drill. He doesn't. That's okay. You can put him in between the 20s and go, hey, we're going to run, flag Z left. What do you call that? All right. Your read is inside to outside for us.
Their split zone.
That's what you get. So, wanted to get to Autumn Super Chat. Good to see you, Autumn. $4.99. I've almost survived the semester. Congratulations. Major accomplishment. I really want to buy some home Bengals tickets, but they're so expensive. Yes. NFL tickets, we were just talking about concert tickets. NFL tickets are the same way. Even if you want to sit up way in the nosebleeds, I don't know that everybody's like, why don't you go to a game every week? And I'm like, I don't really think I want to go to a game every week. There are games I would like to see every week, but I'm content to watch at least half of them on TV, because the experience for watching is, I get more out of it. But game day experience is really a thing, but you will pay for it, right? Even the average tickets are not very average price wise. So I feel you, Autumn, but thanks for stopping by, and thanks very much for the $4.99.
I was looking at Bengals Ravens tickets in Cincy first week of January, or January 8th, I think is when the game was. I was looking at those tickets, and I was like, maybe I'll take a trip out there. And like the cheapest one I could find was like $250.
Yeah, no, the whole like go sit up in the bleachers, and pay like even 60 or $70, which is still a bunch of money.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. You're going to pay 115, 120, and it just goes up from there. Nate Hobbs right in the dome. Ding.
Those are the kind of plays that Sauce picks off, because Sauce just always has his head turned. And I get really frustrated with the corners that are in phase and then don't turn their head, because I'm like, you understand how many picks you guys would have if you just turned around? Like,
there's so many guys
just turn.
Yeah, but there's so many guys for corner that play through the pocket, play through the catch pocket, right? And it's a very effective way to play corner. I'm not going to go on a tirade about defensive back coaching techniques, because I'm not a defensive back and I am not a defensive backs coach. There are a lot of defensive backs, I can tell you, that are absolutely taught, like, don't bother, because it is difficult to turn your head. And if you lose it, that's the thing. That's the fear, is if you lose the ball in transition or in flight, you don't pick it up when you turn your head around. That ball's probably over your head and you're probably giving up a long touchdown. Better to say, I see it in his eyes. I see it coming. Okay, I can just throw my arm up between his two arms in front of his face, block his eyes, and hopefully that ball hits me in the forearm and makes it a very, very difficult catch. It is an effective technique, but you're not going to create turnovers that way. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, because that's what a lot of guys can do against very talented receivers in the NFL. And it is a higher percentage play in terms of the defensive backs outcomes. So that's what they do. Whereas then you get guys like Sauce, who so easily stay in phase, so easily keep contact with the receiver with one hand, that he's like, well, this half of my body's bored, so I'm going to turn and just do this and go get one.
Stephon Gilmore is the same way. Revis was the same way. Sherman was the same way. When you have the confidence where they're not getting away from me, that's where the turnovers come from.
Yeah, for sure.
There we go. Kickoff from the short kickoff. Really short kickoff. They trying to force a return? Looks like they are. Wow, that's a great little dribbler there. Didn't work out on the coverage unit, but the kick was really nice. The ball just fucking died right when it hit the ground.
Are you feeling bad that you didn't bet on a kicker, so now you got to pump up the special teams?
That was a fascinating kickoff, and you could tell he did it on purpose. Like, he kind of he held his legs short. I'm not super familiar with kicker technique, but you could tell he didn't really follow through with that, and the ball just died. If the coverage unit was better, they could have pinned that at like the 15.
The coverage unit was better. Okay, I have to tell you an if it was better story really quickly, all of you. This is not just for Brett, but I haven't told Brett this either, so he'll be impressed.
Oh.
We were looking at it was college ball, and I put up a clip and was talking about quarterbacks who can absolutely freaking launch it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the one from Tennessee, not Hooker, the guy that came in
backup.
Yeah, it's got a flat out cannon, right? And his wide receiver goes by going away, probably shifting into fourth, and he launches, and I mean launches, a 65-yard moonball that this guy catches. He has to turn around to catch it, but it literally hits him in the chest, and he catches it, and they complete it. And one of the comments on that when I posted it on Twitter is, better throw would have been a touchdown. And I'm like, oh my God, do you realize he launched that ball 65 yards in the air with elevation?
We're just hoping to hit the neighborhood at that point.
And he hit him in the armpit. Like, he hit him in the chest. Yes, he had to turn around to catch it. He was 65 yards downfield, and he is fast. One of the fastest receivers in college football. And somebody's like, better throw would have been a touchdown. Better throw? Oh my God, there's like 10 guys in the NFL that can make that throw. And he just flicked it too. That's the thing. He's back and he's like, whoop. And you're like, oh my God, look at the ball come out of his hand. When we talk about that in scouting, like the ball comes out of his hand hot, or man, the ball really comes out of his hand, jumps out of his hand. Like, that's what you're talking about. Guy just stands back there and flicks it, and it goes 65 yards, not on a line, like as a moonball, hits the guy in stride, and pretty much in stride. Yes, he had to turn back to catch the ball, but it hit him in the chest. And somebody's like, "Better throw would have been a touchdown."
Well, I think
Get a
Baker.
better throw.
I think Baker is the NFL record for like longest air yards in a pass at 67. So if you're hitting 65, that's literally one of the longest throws in the history of throws. So
This is what I'm saying, and it hit the receiver on the body, right? And somebody's like, "Better throw," and I'm like, "Where? From what? You got robots out there?" Like, that is an amazing throw. The whole reason I posted it was because the throw was, oh my God. And, the receiver has a whole nother gear. Like, he just flat out runs by the corner. There's no nuance. There's no whatever. Like, he takes a little jab step outside, and then he just turns it on. And he's got, people say has another gear. He had like two more. He just kept opening up and just ran away from the guy, hit him, 65 yards down the field. It's crazy.
Interesting little. So they ran counter there against a 5-man surface, which is what you want, but the Rams still were able to kind of get off blocks and stop it. We'll see if they keep that going, because schematically speaking, counter is going to be the well they're going to have to keep tapping here if they want to make hay against this front. But
the well they're going to have to keep tapping if they're going to make hay. You're mixing metaphors, and I dig. Oh, there's your catch.
All right, 2 to go. Or maybe 1 to go. It's at least 2
I was
going
to say, wasn't it? Was it 3 or 3.5?
3.5, over 3.5.
3.5. So he's got 2 to go, I think.
Okay.
Let me double check.
Well, barely into the second quarter.
No.
Now the Devontae part of this, I'm not feeling good about it, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, at least you didn't bet on kickers. Matt Collins has. Oh, it says 1. It's 2. So yeah, he has 2 more to go. I'm gonna update that real quick.
I did not realize that Derek Carr wears his wedding ring while playing. Huh.
Yeah.
I hope that's one of the silicone ones, not the actual one, because if that's the actual one, that could be a recipe for a very nasty injury.
It's not good. Not good. Raiders 10, Rams 3, first quarter seems right.
About what I expected, to be perfectly honest.
Seems right. Not one team's not off to the races. Neither team got shut out. Like, all right,
Weirdly enough, the Rams offense only started doing work once Baker got in, but.
Well, didn't you know that was going to happen, though?
I
mean, look at the Baker career arc. Like, that's the gig, is the first game, the first quarter, the first 2 or 3 weeks are all like, yeah. And then sustained success is more difficult.
All right, 1st and 10. Again,
and
expecting...
in shot of the week news, Coach McVay's jaw is not wired shut. So,
and no bruising. No bruising.
I think, well, it's LA. There might be bruising. Come on, this is the movie capital of the world.
Yeah.
Hey, can you put a little cover up over here? That doesn't look very good.
All right, looks like we're getting fire zone. They ran away from it. Still only got about 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah, one of the guys that we really liked is a rookie, Dylan Parham, 66, having a good season. Really athletic blocker, and has been in on a lot of. He struggled early for the Raiders. Not gonna lie. Like, there were people like, "Why'd we pick this guy?" It's like, come on, it's the 4th game. Give him a break, and he's rounding into form pretty nicely. Very athletic interior lineman.
I think Barnes is out. I haven't seen him back yet, which sucks.
No, yeah, they replayed that injury as well. So they showed him going back. He did walk back to the locker room. He wasn't carried. Oh,
another one. Mac Hollins with the juice.
Speaking of going back to the well, it's like that worked before. Let's see if they can come
this
up with a
time
stop
not
for
off
that.
orbit. Now they're running a reverse. Either way, just get him up.
Well,
to
yeah,
stride.
but it's the same play. Watch
essentially,
Keelan Cole.
essentially the same play.
No, it's. Oh no, it isn't. No, it isn't at all.
Well, it's the same run action, but just off a reverse instead of off orbit motion.
But, I was looking at the blocking because last time it was Keelan Cole that was. Oh no, that was the Jacobs run. I'm forgetting things. Don't pay attention to me.
Let's see here. 1st and 10. Moving the ball really well. Oh, now we're in quarters. Let's see what we got here.
Oh.
Taking a shot, DC? Nope.
No. He's
Give me
going
my
Keelan
guy
Cole.
right at the sideline.
Yeah.
I think honestly, the Raiders receiving core, even though they're still down Renfro and Waller, they're still not without weapons.
No, I like a lot of the folks that they brought in on low level deals to really. We talk about building a room or filling a room. Like obviously Devontae is the centerpiece addition for the team, not just for the wide receiver room. But you do have to build a room. You do have to build depth. It is lots of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. And I like the guys that they have down at those sort of lower rungs for the 1 year deal or the, very inexpensive NFL minimum. There are a lot of guys that I have looked at in free agency before and thought, again, as a third or fourth contributing wide receiver, that I like the way that guy plays. Keelan Cole Sr.'s one of them. He's a good player. He's not a player you want to lean on as a 1 or a 2, but you need 3s and 4s in the NFL, and he's a good solid 4.
Especially when your normal 3s and 4s get hurt.
Well,
you need
always.
more guys that can be 3s and 4s.
We talked about that at the top of this particular show, is that injuries define the NFL season for all teams. If you don't have them, the absence of injuries defines your success a lot of time. Oh, they were really healthy last year. You hear that a lot. Or if you're in the toilet and you were expected to be, on the heights, hey, they're missing, they've missed 70% of their starter snaps. So injuries are a factor no matter what, whether they're there or whether they're not. And yeah, you got to have guys on the practice squad. You got to have some rookies who you're developing. You got to have some journeymen. I mean, for lack of a better term, that's what they are. They sign 1 year deals. They go around, they've played for 4 or 5 teams, and they're only 6 or 7 years into their career. Like those guys, they've got to fit.
Greg Gaines making plays. Love Greg. So, oh man, how he
Former
kinda
Husky.
knifes in
Former
there.
Husky.
They call that replacing the scoop if you're on the backside of that, although they didn't really double him, but still, kind of jumping in front of that reach block and knifing through. The thing is, against zone, if you can beat that first step and you're in. Like, play's just dead.
Yeah. You're like, hi, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Yakko Warner for $5 in Super Chat a bit ago. Any chance you could do an interview with a former GM in the lead up to the draft? I wonder who'd be available. Is anybody not doing what they were doing last week? Uh-oh.
No, I think the pass was forward. I think it was forward.
All right.
But they're
John
trying to
Robinson.
go back to that. They were trying to go back to that screen that they hit earlier. John Robinson, I don't think he's going to be unemployed for long, though.
Well, right, which is why we have to ask now. Yes, Yakko, we'll look into it because it would be fascinating. Both Brett and I already have a list of questions in our head for ooh, what can you tell me about this? And depending on which GM, all right, cool. Throw out a Patreon thread to collect questions. Yeah, we would probably do it on Twitter as well. We love audience questions for these streams, for bootleg, for just random stuff. Like, again, somebody just reached out to me on Twitter this week and said, why can't the Seahawks fit the run? And I was like, oh, that's a fascinating question. I want to dig into that. So great question. And thank you very much for the $5. Hey, tack on a field goal, 13-3, keep some points are better than no points, especially in a game like this where it doesn't look like it's going to be a 50-point spectacle for one team or maybe even both teams by the end of the game. Blatty 26 for $4.99. I played Xavier Tillman, big man for Memphis Grizzlies in football when he was a sophomore. Flattened him as a pulling guard. That's right. Keep living on that. That is fuel. He's probably, I don't know, how big is Xavier Tillman now? Like 6'10", 265 or something.
You might be underestimating the weight.
Yeah, probably.
That dude's massive.
But, there you go. It's like, got him. He wasn't looking. You're holding as a sophomore.
I'm going to be at the Rams facility tomorrow, so if I see Les Snead, I'll be like, hey, if you're not doing anything in, March.
Or, even if you are. I mean, that's the other thing with the timing. Lead up to the draft, it would have to be former GM. After the draft, you might actually get a GM. It's still busy, but...
It's got to be after the UDFA rush.
Yeah, no. I mean, when I say after the draft, it's like after the draft for us. It's a couple of weeks after all the wrap up, and you kind of go, okay, now we got all that content out. We're going to take a week's break or whatever it is before we dive into the off-season program. So there is really no break in that calendar. People talk about the college all-star games, and I talked about it at the top of this, that we're already talking about logistics and where we're going to be when we go to different games and all that, different all-star games. And people are like, why do they have to happen so soon? Why can't they happen after the Super Bowl? And if you look at how the calendar stacks and how NFL teams calendars stack with coaches and coaches availabilities, and like they literally have like a 11-day window where you can fit in the two biggest all-star games, Shrine and Senior. And there is no other time, because other than that, people aren't, scouts aren't going to come to it. They're going to be committed doing other things. And then you get into, pro day season and everybody's spread out all over the place. So like literally that little break, like right, between or during really conference championships. I remember we were at Shrine last year watching the Kansas City Cincinnati game with all the defensive backs. Like it was our 2-hour window to interview all the defensive backs. We didn't do any interviews that 2 hours.
You just wanted to watch the game.
All 20 of them were like, they brought in a TV, but everybody had their phone and their iPad out and everything. And they're all like 28 defensive backs, 28 of the top defensive backs in the country are just like, oh, he got him. And then you realize like, oh, he's that guy's teammate.
Yeah.
Like those two guys played together in college 2 years ago. Oh, it's a fascinating experience just to watch the room react to the game. Nonetheless, it was a really cool game. But yeah,
I asked them, by the way, point blank. I was like, "You against Jamar? You think you can handle him?" And of course, all of them were like, "Oh yeah, I'd lock him down." Which, I mean, one of them was Jack Jones, and I'm like, "Well, Jack Jones might actually do okay against Jamar," but I'm like, "Guys, come on now. I know you're confident."
No, that's the hallmark, man. You got to have as much confidence as the day is long and the shortest memory ever. But it was fascinating. Those guys were great. They were good sports to let us hang out and watch with them and just sort of react to their reactions.
Here we go. All right, 1st and 10
Boy,
again.
look at the push from the Rams offensive line on that. There's a lot of space on the interior.
They have gotten better as the season has gone on, for sure. I mean, they're still not what I would consider to be a great offensive line, but they're not the abject disaster that they were early on.
Yeah, they're not. Well,
they've improved. They've improved.
Right, I'm not going to name other like horrific offensive lines from the past 2 or 3 years. What is that supposed to show me?
The wristband?
Uh-huh.
That they have
framing.
plays picked out, but they're not 100%.
Framing. It's not phrasing. It's just framing.
Brett, in your Cowboys vid last season, you explained cover one cross and one wrap, but didn't explain what cover one robber is. Can you explain? Why, yes, I can, kind sir. Give me 1 second.
Bars is officially out, by the way. Thank you, Connor. That really sucks. Yes, it does. Copeland keeps choking Parham. There's a lot of quote unquote holding. Don't say that on Twitter though, because no holding Twitter will tell you that it's not holding no matter what, unless it's assault. And even if it is assault, it's probably not holding.
Yeah, don't piss off the offensive line coaches.
Oh my God, it's not holding. And I'm like, I sent Brett a picture.
Meanwhile,
like,
I
I sent Brett a picture 2 weeks ago. Literally, the offensive lineman has his hands like this on the back of the defender, whose arms are out like this.
Uh-huh.
And no hold was called on play. It was literally a lead block for a long touchdown, like a 26-yard rushing touchdown. And this was the lead blocker, was this offensive lineman. And this is the still I have of him doing that. I'm like, well, I guess it's not holding. It's like, that's literally the dictionary definition of a hold. Like, that's the picture they would have. Oh, Atwell gets loose. Is that Atwell? Yes,
that might be our over 24.5. That's what we wanted. That's what we
pretty
wanted.
darn long. He gets loose and adds extra yards. All right, they're at the 35 when he throws this, or the ball's at 35. All right, that's a 15-yard completion, and he picked up 8 to 10 after that. Let's see the run. He's at there, and he goes 5 more, about 8 more. So real close. What do we need? 23?
Huh?
24.5. Oh, I think he needs 1 more of that. Oh, that's what you're going to get when the guy doesn't know the play. Max Crosby gets a free sack. Nah, Baker sort of turned the wrong way and then realized, oh, there's nothing there. This isn't going to work, and Max was all over him.
Yeah.
All right, so he goes, he gets the ball, he misses motion, he has the ball in the wrong hand, and he goes, "Oh, there's nobody here." And Max Crosby's like, "Yes, please." Max Crosby too fast for even the most mobile quarterbacks, which is why one of the reasons he's had so much success over the past couple of years. He is liquid quick. Like his relative athletic score coming out was real good. I think it was 9.64. So, boy, look at him string that run out. Boy, Raiders. That wasn't even the defensive front line. Like that's the nickel, or is that the safety? Safety coming down. Merrick? That looked like Merrick. I didn't catch the number, but who is it? No, don't show that. Oh, they're still showing Crosby. All right. And yeah,
I'll wait for the commercial.
Backside is. Oh, they don't show it. I want to say that felt like Merrick, or maybe it was Hobbs.
Third and 13. Not many plays in the playbook for 3rd and 13, EJ.
More than like 3rd and 25. Saw a lot of 3rd and 25s on Sunday, and I'm like, good luck, man. Just I don't know, like ask the Magic 8-Ball at that point. 3rd and 25 is like, what do we really want here? Like, oh, we need 11 to get our punter some room. Okay, I gotta play for 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13. That's cool, but like 3rd and 25 is like, make a play. I'll get you the ball. Make a play. That's the extent of those.
Actually, I think a better representation. I'll put it
because they want, on 3rd and 25 deals, you want something. You don't want over.
Yeah.
You'd rather take 11 or 12 or 13 or even 17, and knock at the 25 than airball a pass 40 yards down the field and get nothing and then be right back where you were, unless you're just spacing yourself out for a long pump. But that's really odd. That's just, hey, we made some really bad mistakes around midfield. Now at like the 35, and now we're backed up to like the 50, and don't think we're kicking a 67-yarder. So we just want a few more yards for our kicker. We'll take 10 or 11 on 3rd and 25 at that point. Oh man, the right tackle was mugging.
Got it though.
Skoronski for sure.
Got it. Big time.
I was saying Skoronski. That's the tackle for Northwestern who's coming out this year. Ben Skoranek, the wide receiver from Notre Dame.
All right. Were they in cover 2? Is that why there was such a big ass window there?
Yeah, look at the gap. Well,
what the fuck? What's the safety doing? You gotta nail that, bro.
Yeah, didn't get it.
Like, if you're not angle pedaling, you better be sitting on that for a reason. Like, if it's there, you got to fucking trigger, man.
Is that ball?
That looks like ball to me.
That was ball. Raiders are adamant that it's their ball. I mean, aren't they always? But that's funny. There's a guy named Masterson playing for the Raiders, which is funny. One of the first guys I ever played football with was named Masterson.
Huge turnover.
That is not going to... Boy, Jones with the punch, man. It's really hard when you get direct contact on the ball.
Yeah.
Trying to cover it up, but that was a really solid shot. You got your diagram?
I got my diagram. All right. Difference between cover 1 cross and cover 1 robber. Very, very subtle. So they're both cover 1. They both start usually in middle field open looks. So he's taking him in man. He's trailing it. He's taking him in man. This nickel, he's trailing it. And so in cover 1 robber, let's just say he is rotating to deep middle, right? And then he's coming down and he's just robbing it. He has no obligation to pick up either of these routes and keep it going. So he's just strictly as a robber, where if you try to throw it over the middle, say on this dig that's going to come in, ideally when everything's cleared out, this dig will come in and settle. He'll rob that, right? cover one cross is different in that, let's just say first cross through is this one. He'll come down and then pick it up. And then this nickel will then become that robber over the middle. And then he can pick up the second guy through, right? So in robber, basically, the guy who starts as the robber stays as the robber. In cross, the first robber will pick up and then pass off the robber responsibilities. So the advantage of it is that you don't necessarily get out leveraged once the receiver goes past the robber, because if this nickel is way out of phase up here, but he's already past the robber, you can make that second window throw over here. So you can kind of get somebody with better leverage to come down and then be better positioned over the top. The disadvantage is that if you're running it with a lot of speed, sometimes, like if you're running this like a Tyreek or a Hollywood or something like that, and you're getting a safety that runs 4.55 picking that up, you can kind of force them into a shitty matchup where you're going to get a step anyway. So it just kind of depends on the matchup. It depends on the game plan. But robber, this guy will stay here. Cross, he'll pass it off, and the next guy will settle in and stay. Hope that helps. They're close. They're very similar, but they're close.
I've had that exact discussion with Brett, and I don't remember what he just said right now, so it didn't help at the time, but that was a long time ago.
First and 10 for the Raiders here.
Yeah. See what the Raiders can put together, and the answer is Josh Jacobs. That's what they can put together.
21 personnel runs against two high safety structures, baby.
7.5 yards. Bang.
So part of the reason why the Rams are so good against the run is because they say they play so much cover 3, but if you're going to catch them in a two high safety structure, the numbers advantage kind of goes out the window there.
Yeah. Man, Chandler Jones still getting it done. Forced that fumble, man. He crushed that thing. It's just such a shot. He's like, hey, come on, stay in the game. We're going to need you. There it is again. All right, what's the game plan? What was the game plan I talked about for the Raiders at the top of this one?
Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball.
Josh Jacobs. That's right. Last two plays, Josh Jacobs, first down. Like, there you go. He's like, yeah, just keep going. Give me a little more. I'm good.
He's going to end up with 400 touches this year.
Well, year 113 is going to be it's looked pretty good so far, but it might be threatened by the end of the game because they will not lay off him. That's all they got. So
well, if the Rams don't get anything going themselves, then they're just going to keep doing it just to kill clock.
Right, but you were talking about the Rams. Now, Josh Jacobs on the season, 5.4 per rush is his average for the whole season. And in this game, 3.2 so far after 15 rushes. Like 15 rushes is a busy first half for a modern running back. 3.2, so well below, 2 yards below his average. Indeed, the Rams are fitting the run pretty well, but it doesn't mean they're going to stop. And Matt Collins 2 for 33, but we won't talk about that.
His over-under on carries, by the way, for tonight was 20.5. And that was the one where I was like, I mean, he's going to get the carries. It's the yardage I don't think he's going to get.
Yeah, well, he's going to get the carries for sure. 20.5.
Like, they'll give him the ball 30 times. It's whether or not it's for 3 yards a pop or 4. That's the question.
Yeah. Oh! Damn, folks.
Nice stiff arm.
No, I'm not talking about the stiff arm. Watch the cut. He's smiling like crazy. Not very many people, especially not very many people at his size, can make that first cut. Mm-hmm. Started left, and the cut was snap, like both feet in the ground going the other way. One motion. And Josh, that's one of the reasons that Josh was, I'm pretty sure he's a 5-star. One of the reasons that Josh was 5-star in college and, in the pros can still do that against the top level athletes and get away with it because he's not many people keeping up with that cut. Not many people can make that cut, but on the other side on defense, there's very few that can make a similar move to keep up with it. Like full throttle left, full throttle right, snap. So
Sabana Deep, why is Brett entirely my left ear? Because Brett has an old Focusrite that
has traveled a lot.
Refuses to comply. And so Brett this week is going to get a new mixer or interface, however you want to phrase it. The mic is fine. The Focusrite, not so much. So we're gonna do better, chat. We're gonna do better. Whatever Brett has to pay at
1% better
at Sweetwater, he will pay.
Yeah, Sweetwater.
So we're getting a commercial for Avatar right now, and I don't know about you, EJ. And again, Avatar came out when I was coming out of high school, early in college.
Sure.
It had like no staying power in my generation. Like, I do not care that there's another Avatar movie. I have not been waiting for this for 12 years. It's more like, oh, there's another Avatar movie. They spent like a fucking $1 billion on it, and I don't think a whole lot of people care.
I've seen similar sentiments on social media. I'm typically not rushing out to see movies. I still haven't seen movies that I really wanted to see that came out within the last year, and I tend to end up now just seeing them later on that screen right over there. I'm not much of I love the theater, but I really got to say after COVID, haven't really gotten back to going to the theater. I used to love that experience, and it's not cheap either. We're talking about concert tickets. All the tickets have gone up. Movie tickets, you go in with a family of 4 for movie tickets now. It's like, oh, well, I hope we really want to see this because yikes. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on Avatar. I have the original Avatar on DVD somewhere down there. Got the DVD set a long time ago. And again, I think I've watched it like 3 times total since it came out. So not one of those things, but I've seen a lot of people say similar things like, cool, Avatar movie, neat, whatever, which is crazy considering how long it took and how committed James Cameron's been to number 2, to a repeat to the Avatar world.
I thought it was cool to see it in theaters because of like the visual effects and stuff like that. But like, I didn't feel like the story was like it's Dances with Wolves.
No,
like it's the same story.
Pocahontas in space.
That's literally what it is.
Literally Pocahontas in space.
You're seeing it for the special effects. That's
yeah. I mean, and there were some good performances in there. But not. That was not really what it was about. Oh, here you go. What was the over/under for Mac Hollins rushing yards?
They didn't even have one.
I know. Oh, that's crazy. But
don't fix what ain't broke.
Look at him. He's smiling. It's like it's making hay. Just keep running me to the left. He's happy with it, man.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, let's do this a little bit more because we're getting yards out of it. And he's a problem on the edge. He's a big dude. Like Mac Hollins is not a small guy. He's more than willing to put the pads down as a guy that's played a lot on special teams. So if you're not a physical tackling corner, he's gonna try and run you over. All right, getting to Blatty's super chat really quick. We didn't forget you, Blatty 26, $4.99. Say the Lions get Jay Carter and Jay Porter Jr. with first-round pick. When does Brad Holmes collect his Executive of the Year award? Well,
they got to make the playoffs first.
I was going to say it's a little early to give anybody Executive of the Year just off draft because there's a lot of moves that make up a football team, and a GM is responsible for all of them. We are Brad Holmes fans. Like his first 2 drafts, yes, the Lions need some defense. Yes, both of those players would look good in Honolulu blue, especially Jalen Carter, helping that defensive line. They have been deficient there this year. Executive of the Year award, maybe a little rich for my blood. Would it be really cool? Yes, it would be really cool. Is it possible, given how high their draft pick is that they got from said Rams for one Matthew Stafford? It is. It's totally possible that they could get their hands on Jalen Carter with the first pick they have.
That'd be how many years in a row that they're just... It's like, let's just take all the defensive linemen.
Oh, did he get it? Did he get it?
Oh, my God. I think he got that. Oh, my God.
That was that college connection. Yeah. As soon as that one came out of his hand, I thought, he might get that.
He didn't move his arms. It just fell. It just went into the pocket right there.
This is a known. This is, when you talk about chemistry, this is Carr knowing exactly. Yeah, that's literally right in between the 1 and the 7. Like, that's unreal precision, but it was so smooth coming out of his hand. You saw the release. Watch
I'm
this.
Tearing up.
You should be.
Oh my God.
That is a shot. And look at the footwork. Here it is. Bam. 1 right inside. No problem. And another one. He gets another one in.
I'm tearing up, EJ. That was gorgeous.
You should tear up. That is
I just saw God.
Yeah, that is top tier aerial attack stuff. You don't get more precise in the passing game than that, and it looked so natural. Like ball coming off his hand, you're like, he looks covered, but for some reason, I think that's yep, yep. He put it right on him, like
That's
right
insane.
on him.
That's insane. Can Brett name a single Avatar character? I think the guy's name was Jake, right?
Yeah, Jake, you're correct. Brett wins. What does
There's
Brett
one.
win? Come on.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, she's not a character.
Oh man, Greg Gaines almost just killed a man.
Almost. Car's like, I'm glad I'm faster than him because boy, he's big.
Watch this
All
spin
right.
move from Greg Gaines.
Are they going to show it? They aren't going to show it because
Oh,
it's
come
it's
on.
no, it's defensive line porn. They don't show defensive line porn. Back to the analyst question, which books? Read Pat Kerwan's book just for your own good. Take your eye off the ball. It'll help you watch football, which means you can probably talk about it, whether it's writing in terms of analysts or whether it's something like a color analyst on games. You know, understanding how to look at football so that you can talk about football effectively is an ever ongoing process. Like you're never done with that. You're never done understanding how to look at football. It's just layers upon layers upon layers. But there are definitely things you can do early in your journey that will help you out later on. And one of them is literally the title of that book. Take your eye off the ball. Learn how to watch other things and not just watch the path of the ball. And you will start to understand a lot more about football at that point because there's so many more layers and so much more to watch than just that last pass play is a perfect example, right? If you're looking at the slide and the protection and, you know, where the help is, running back routes, what the hot is, like even before that's a longer developing route down the sideline. There were 3, 4, 5, 6 things happening before that ever happened. But if you're just focused in on Carr and Devontae, you're going to see that, but you're going to see that in the replay. You're not going to see great pickups by the running back. You're not going to see other routes that pull coverage away so that, you know, there's a hole for him to throw to. There it is.
Oh, DC got hit when he threw it. That sucks. That's so unfortunate for him. I mean, it wasn't his fault.
I don't buy that.
He got hit as it was coming out.
No, he got bumped, and the bumped is thing, but look at where the defender was and the receiver was before he got bumped, and tell me it wasn't a questionable decision despite the bump.
I think it depends because if he's trying to fit that up high, maybe, but
if he's trying to fit that up high, maybe is a really good explanation.
Without the all-22, I think I'm going to reserve judgment on it.
100%. Without the all-22, I might look at that and go, no, the window is there. If he'd been able to step into that, he would have drilled it, blah, blah, blah. With Carr, the benefit of the doubt is
you don't have a benefit of the doubt.
Well, it's thin, right? And this is the same thing. If we're going to ding Josh for this midseason, which we did, right? Questionable decisions in the red zone that cost your team points, which is exactly what that was, right? We've got to say, maybe we want to look at the all-22, and yes, we know he got bumped, but I'm not so sure that receiver was good, clean, wide open, or even a reasonably decent throw across the middle before he got bumped. Obviously, the bump made it worse.
Let me see where we're at slip-wise. I'm curious.
Yes, we should check the slip.
On pace to hit for Derek, barely, but we're on pace.
Okay.
On pace to hit for Devontae, unless he just gets completely blanked in the second half. He's at 72. We need 90. Jacobs,
one more good one.
I'm not feeling great about Jacobs. We need less than 113.5. He's at 66. I'm not feeling great about that. Bobby, we're already over on tackles. He's got 9. We need over 7.5. Tutu, we are 3 yards away for Tutu Atwell, and we are 2 catches away.
Tutu.
We're 2 catches away from Mac Hollins. So as long as the Raiders offense just keeps throwing and Tutu gets 3 yards, I think we're making $500 on this one. And then I need a receiving TD from Devontae. And
on the other one.
Yeah. And then I need Tyler Higbee to literally do anything.
Now, Tyler Higbee has not in terms of a slip, done a lot tonight. And look, they got to stop giving up 13.3 yards a carry to Mac Hollins when they hand it off, because
Yeah.
why would you throw it? That's better than his receiving average at this point. Okay, here's the sky cam view. Show me up. Show me up. No, dude. That was through 2 defenders.
Well,
You
so
can't
he
tell me the
wanted
sink
he
defender.
wanted to hit the window high and at the back of the end zone.
It wasn't
I
close.
understand it. I
I
understand
understand it, but I want to see the wide view of that. They really focused in on him getting bumped. I want to see the wider view. I want to see the corner and the receiver coming in phase across, because
Yeah.
there is a post defender right there, and he was throwing it pretty much right at him.
I think he
Like, he
wanted
was-
it left.
Yeah,
in
he
it.
wanted it to the defender's right hand to be passed. And look, that's a throw that quarterbacks in this league make all the time. But I'm not so sure that it would have been an insanely good throw. And you know, folks in chat might say, EJ, he just made an insanely good throw down the boundary to Devontae. He can do it.
EJ's of the opinion that Derek only has a couple of those in him per game.
Well, my opinion on Carr is that you're going to see both, right? There are very few games where he is all hot streak and no, oh, what did you do that for? And more of that. He has had sections in his career like that. He's not currently in one. There was that hot start to the season like 2 years ago when he was like MVP pace, like clear MVP pace, and playing some of the best football of his career. And he had games like that where he was just all killer, no filler, no bad decisions. He has crept back to he might be 2/3, 1/3, but you're still getting that third, and the third might be costly. Might be a red zone interception, might just be a bad pick in the middle of the field. A slow throw to the outside that's a pick six. Like, any of those things can and do happen with Derek Carr with more regularity than you would like for somebody that has top tier ability, for sure. We just saw it. And is being counted on to be the guy. Like, we're in year what for Derek Carr now?
8, something like that.
Yeah, this is not spring chicken territory. He's been doing this for almost a decade, and he's had a couple of really hot streaks that were super hot that definitely brought him into contention. But I don't know, where would you rank Carr if you were talking about, let's say 4 tiers of quarterbacks? The top tier is 5 guys. You can pick any 5 because we're not going to have that discussion right now. And then there's 3 more tiers.
So you're putting him up against Geno, Dak, and Cousins, generally, I would say, is like the group that is like hanging around the back half of the top 12, right?
Yeah, and of those 4, I think that's a fairly fair chunk for most seasons.
This year, I would take Geno and then Cousins. God, Cousins and Dak are like right there. If gun to my head, for this year in their systems with their talent around them, I'm ordering them Geno, Cousins, Dak, Carr out of that foursome.
Right. And there might even be somebody I would pull and put ahead of Carr, maybe bumping him down to the next tier, because I think your top 3 are basically correct order and probably about the correct bunch, but I'm not so sure that Carr is holding their coattails in the back half of that top 7.
I mean, we've got guys like Jalen Hurts that passed all of them. Tua's debatable.
Well, Tua's, he's better than all the guys you named this year. Again, for all the caveats you mentioned, this year in their system, what they're doing, like ranking, he's better than all the guys you named, with possibly the exception of Geno. Like, he and Geno are pretty close
Right
in that
there.
discussion, but I would say Tua is above him. Geno's right there, though. People that haven't been watching Geno are still grading him off previous stuff. I actually rewatched last week's game, which was, Geno against the Rams, and God, there's like 8 plays in that game, both with his feet and with his arms, where you're like, dude, like, so few quarterbacks make that play every week, and he made 8 of them in the same week, completely composed. Want to get to Fitzy's super chat here. Andrew Fitzpatrick for 19.99. Andrew, you are a freaking superhero. One of our executive producers here on Bootleg. Shout out to you. What are your thoughts on Baker as a starter in the NFL? Can he redeem himself somewhere, or did he botch his best case scenario in Cleveland? He had a lot of talent there. Also, bear down and cheers. Indeed, I will be running up to get my halftime beer soon. I'll give you a cheers at that point. Baker's a starter in the NFL. I think much like the discussion we just had with Carr, although it is a very different skill set. The book on Baker is pretty well established at this point. I don't see his narrative changing a lot. Can you win with it? Sure. You know, again, Cleveland was a very good assemblage of talent, and it didn't happen there. Are you going to see a situation as good as that anytime soon again for Baker outside of an injury replacement situation, something like the Rams, except the Rams aren't that situation right now. You know, if there was no Brock Purdy and he had gone to San Francisco, which was what a lot of people were talking about, then it's a pretty good assemblage of talent there too. Is he going to play as well as the guys who are there? Maybe not, but would his star be raised by being in a situation like that? Sure. Is he going to play a lot differently than he has to this point? I don't think so. Brett, what do you got?
In terms of, was that Baker's best case scenario so far in his career? Yes. But at the same time, if he sticks around with the Rams, and maybe he's a longer term backup to, because again, he's still young-ish. Maybe he's a longer-term backup to Stafford, who's, at this point, probably going to miss games every year of his career, depending on how long he wants to keep playing. It's not like there's a lack of talent in LA when they're all healthy. Like, you still got Cooper Kupp. We love Van Jefferson. It's not the worst situation. I want them to keep improving their offensive line depth. I would like to see them maybe take a swing at a new DC next year, because I disagree with a lot of things that Raheem Morris has been doing this year. It's not the worst situation, and I think it has the potential, considering how much the owner is willing to spend, it has the potential to eventually be the best situation he's had. Talent-wise, personnel-wise, it's a great coach. There is no lack of weapons there. But as of right now, looking at what the Rams are right now, and looking at what the Browns were a couple years ago, the Browns a couple years ago objectively were the best situation he's had. So I would like to see him stick with the Rams as a backup as they kind of start to rebuild that team. And, kind of do the Geno thing where you take a back seat for a while and then, maybe down the line get another shot at your career when you're older and wiser. And, again, Geno's 32. He's 32. He waited a long fucking time for this.
Did you see the quote
Baker
that came
has
out
to as well
today from Geno that I just loved?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was like, "Did you ever like have doubts in your long stretch where you weren't getting your opportunity?" And he said, "No, my bad days would be a dream for so many other people."
He's not wrong. He was in the NFL for 9 years. You know how many players play for 9 years?
But that amount of perspective is uncommon. And I just loved the answer. He's like, no, this has been, I don't care how hard it is you think that it is for me to not play football. Yes, it's my professional goal. It's my desire. Of course, it's what I want to do. But again, I'm out here at the practice facility throwing the ball around. I'm working hard, but I am safe. I got money. Family's taken care of. No, my bad days are fine, man. Just fine.
For people that are wondering where the second half slip is, by the way, I would like to show you something. Prize Picks, as of right now, doesn't know which Rams quarterback to put up. So there's only a one-person slip. I think they're still trying to decide whether or not, because Wolford and Baker have been splitting. I don't think they know which one to put up. So we'll see. We'll see.
So why don't they just put up a combo slip for it? Rams quarterback.
Maybe they're making it right now. They might be on the fly making it.
Half and half, right? And whoever plays quarterback for the Rams will not exceed 125 yards passing and 35 yards rushing or something like that.
Or just as a team passing yards.
Yeah, team quarterback yards. Yeah.
Kind of jerry-rigging that on the back end, trying to figure out how to do it. Because this is a very weird game. It's It's a very weird
This
game.
is a very weird game because it's pretty rare that you don't know who the starting quarterback or even the sort of progression is going to be. Again, we saw Wolford go to the sideline, keep his helmet on, but just be replaced by a guy that joined the team 3 or 4 days ago. So it's not typical. You see that more in college, right? Quarterback swapping at sort of random intervals, maybe even when one's still healthy. Not as common in the NFL. I'm gonna take this opportunity to go get my second half beer, and I'll be right back.
Go for it. Chat said, "Is it just me or is Brett really quiet?" It's not just you. My Focusrite, which is a audio interface, decided to shit the bed apparently over the last couple weeks. So I'm getting a new one. Don't even care what it costs. Going to go get a new one, a new interface period, and fix that for next week's stream, because next week's stream is a huge one because we have Seattle and the 49ers. There is a million different ways to talk about that game. So I'm going to make sure that all of our audio shit is fixed by next Thursday, because that might be the biggest stream of the year. That's a big one. Huge one. What's the score? I think it's 13-3, right, chat? If I recall correctly. Double check on that. Yeah, 13-3 Raiders. Is there any super chats that I missed? Max for $5. Also, not to keep bringing it up, but that Mahomes thing from last week has been the only thing I've thought about all week. If you're referring to me cursing the shit out of the Chiefs, I apologize. You know, they hadn't lost a November game in 3 years or a December game in 3 years. I thought we were safe, even from the big bad Bengals. Thought we were safe. Apparently not. Apparently not. That's my bad. That's on me. But would you rather me curse the Chiefs now or curse them in the playoffs? Because you knew a Chiefs video was coming eventually, right? So, you know, like Eagles fans are terrified of me making a Jalen Hurts video. And it's like, well, would you rather me do it right before the Cowboys game, or would you rather me do it in January? Pick your poison. It's going to be one of them. It's going to be one of them. Absolute banger, Hawks money line. I don't even think that there is a money line for that game yet. But it's in, where is it? Let me see here. Next Thursday is in Seattle. Ooh, man, that might slightly favor Seattle, to be honest. Like, the 49ers are a threshing machine, but that's a tough environment to play in prime time. It's a very easy stadium to get to on a Thursday, by the way. Like, SoFi, not easy to get to on a Thursday. Lumen, because of the train that drops everybody off, it's really easy to pack that place by 5:15 on a Thursday. It's going to be loud. It's a good team. The 49ers, their biggest rival. Wouldn't be surprised if Seattle pulls that off and then takes the division lead. Would not be surprised at all. No Justin videos during the season. Well, I did a Justin Herbert video and then completely ruined the Chargers from then on, so that one's on me too. Fields, I'll wait till off season on Fields. I don't want to get him killed. Selfishly, as a Bears fan, I'm going to wait till the off season on that. But I think what I'm going to do for a Bears video, and chat, feel free to workshop this with me, I would appreciate that, is looking at all the assets the Bears have, all the money and all the picks, and kind of doing a mock offseason right before free agency in terms of like how I would fix the team, because they have more assets than anybody else to work with. So I'd kind of do like a whole mock March and mock draft, assuming a trade down scenario, and just talk about how I would unfuck the Bears. Just workshopping it. And then I might do the same thing with who are the other the Texans, because they have a whole bunch of picks, and pretty much any of like the interesting teams in the draft that have a whole bunch of assets to work with. You know, the Lions are going to have extra assets, and they're all kind of on the cusp here. Might do like just dedicated. I wouldn't do it on all 32 teams. I don't have time to do all 32 teams, but just the more interesting teams to talk about in the offseason. I might kind of do mock off seasons for them. RJ Walsh, can you explain quarter, quarter, half, and why the Vikings use it? Yes, I can, actually. Where's my eraser? Stand by. Stand by. Okay. The Vikings use it 30% of the time, by the way, which is absurd. Before this season, it was rare to see anybody use it more than 20% of the time, and they're using it 30% of the time. It's insane. Okay. All right. All right, let's have a fun little discussion about quarter, quarter, half coverage, which also the Rams, by the way, are like 5th in using it this year. So this applies to this game as well. So quarter, quarter, half. Let's pretend that we're on a hat, about to have second half kickoff, by the way. Let's pretend that this is the left half, right? So here's to the field side. So quarter, quarter, half is generally quarter, quarter from this corner, and then half field safety, right? And then down here, you're going to have a cloud corner. So we're going to play cover 2 to this side. And then he's in the hook. And then we're playing quarters, match quarters on this side. Any form of match quarters you want. So he'll take the first in, he'll take the first out, and we kind of box it. So it's a 4/3, right? So quarter, quarter, half. Most teams will call the quarter side, again, if this is the hash mark, most teams will call the quarter side either to the field or to the passing strength. Some prefer to call it based on where the ball is lined up. Some prefer to call it based on where the passing strength is, meaning where there's more receivers to work with. So sometimes if you see FIB looks, which stands for formation into boundary, let's pretend that this is the boundary side and over here is the wide side of the field. They still might call quarters to the boundary based on the passing strength, or they might have this be the cover 2 side and you're calling quarters to the isolated side. And what that will look like, if I can set this down.
Well, looks like we're going to get more Baker Mayfield in the second half. Oh, this is not going to go well. Oh, okay. All right.
You dare doubt me?
I was talking about Baker, not about you, but yeah, sure, I dare doubt you. No. The first ball, really nice. There was an underthrow. This is the underthrown one, I think. Yeah, he short arms this ball. Nope, that's not the one. It's this one. Right. They're not going to show it, are they?
So let's pretend
these are all the long completions.
Let's pretend that we're going to call cover 2 to the field, right? And we're going to call cover 2 to the boundary, right? Because we want to call cover 2 to the short side because it's less space for a half field safety to have to cover. You don't have to cover the entire thing over here. We're going to call cover 2 to here. So cover 2, he's in the flat. He's collisioning on this slot and then playing the hook. And then quarters, he's probably going to back off to about here, and he's going to outside leverage, and the safety is going to inside leverage and basically be like an east-west double on the X. So if they have like a Devontae Adams, this is how you're going to double him backside, playing cover 2 over here. You know, this guy will wall inside on the crosser. He will pick up the next guy through. So we're playing cover 2 over here, and the only real threat, and this actually happened in the Bears game, EJ, week 1 last year against the Rams. You remember that long Cooper Kupp touchdown where there was the busted coverage? The Rams hit that against cover 2 to the strong side. Ooh, Baker. All right,
you missed. Yeah, you missed his arm getting hit the one before. He got hit right in the elbows. He let it go, and his arm like wrapped around. I think it was Max's arm. That was not pretty.
The threat that you're going to get when you're playing cover 2 into like the passing strength, which you absolutely can do, but some coaches absolutely hate it, because if this guy's releasing vertical and this guy's releasing vertical and this guy's releasing vertical, your safety's fucked, right? There's too many guys. So you need to have a linebacker. If you're going to do it, you need to have a linebacker who's fast enough to carry this, and you need to have a nickel who either collisions the shit out of this guy to force him wide so the safety can midpoint both, or you need to have a nickel to just run with it and the safety comes over the top. And then this guy's just in the flat waiting for the running back. So quarter, half. We're actually working on a video on this for the NFL to teach this. So very prescient question by you. But you can call it to formation. You can call it to space. Whole bunch of different ways to run it. As for why the Vikings love it so much, it gets picks. It does a fantastic job of either taking a number one receiver out of the game or generating picks against bad quarterbacks. They've been very unlucky with it this year in terms of just like blown coverages or like a ref getting in the way. Oh God, Baker. Bad throw. Vikings, like 5 of the 7 touchdowns they've allowed quarter, half are just either like straight up coverage busts or like really wonky shit happening, like nobody being able to tackle Tony Pollard. On paper, the coverage has been more successful for them than you think. It's just like they have these weird disaster scenarios because they're the Vikings where stuff just like randomly breaks. That's not a schematic issue. The players just fuck up somehow. I hope that helped, by the way. I really do. I hope that explained it decently.
But right as you said Bears, Bilal Nichols got a sack. So
well, there you go.
There you go. No, Baker is, I think hitting the limits of what he knows. They said, just go out there and try and make some plays. Uh-oh. There we go. You missed the hand.
Bro, you're staring at him the whole time. Look for this when it's going up.
Keelan Cole's like, look. Oh, boy. Jacob Harris. Let's see. Did he get it up? Oh, no. He's going to hit him anyways.
Oh, Thinking Football is in here. Okay. This will actually help a lot. So Thinking Football, if you see in the chat, if this is the same Thinking Football, I think it is, he did a video not too long ago on the 49ers running their version of like Vic Fangio's Cover 6 and some of the different ways they do it, and like Talanoa Hufanga like just being a fucking world beater. Click on his name, find that video, watch it. That will help explain Cover 6. That showed up in my feed not too long ago, and I was like, wow, this is actually really amazing. And I was already working on the one for the NFL, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do better than that, but I'm going to try.
I'm going to try.
Watch his video. It's great.
Yeah. It's double-edged sword when you find awesome content that is in the same vein as whatever you're doing with Brett. Yeah. It's coverage, usually coverage explanation videos. With me, it's talking about draft stuff in certain ways, and I try not to. It's this ever-present struggle during the entire content creation cycle, but for me, especially during draft season, I don't want to watch the people who are the best at it stuff, because then that stuff filters in and does cloud your reactions, your expectations, what you think you're going to see. You want to go in with as clean a look as you can, but at the same time, you want to read what, Jordan Reed's writing. You want to read what Matt Waldman's writing. You want to read what, Joe Marino and the TDN folks are writing. And you can't, you just can't. You kind of got to save a lot of that stuff. I'll read occasionally. If I've already done a player, I'll read something about them because I have my report, and then I can, it's freeing at that point. I can read theirs and go,
I'll do it sometimes just to make sure I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
it's like, am I the only one that likes Zach Tom?
Or Arnell Motley. But no, I have trouble with that because sometimes I'm susceptible to moving the needle back towards the mean after I do that. Sometimes I'm like, no, forget it. I'm right. I see it. This is the guy, right? Or not the guy. That is also the case sometimes. And I've been susceptible both ways. There were guys that I was like, what's a good example? Monty Rogers, the receiver the Packers just cut. I thought I was going to like him. Just, I'd seen clips. It wasn't because of what other people said. I thought I was going to like his game. I liked his game okay, but I was like, his last season, I was like, okay, I don't like him as much as I thought I would, but that's still a decent amount, right?
Mhm.
And then a lot of people were like, steal, steal, steal. This is going to be great. His stock is a little bit down, and he's really awesome. And I was like, his stock's a little bit down, and I actually think that matches his game.
Mhm.
But I was like, maybe I should be pre-waiting. Again, progression not being linear. Maybe I should be pre-waiting stuff that happened last year. Oh, it's in there. We can get it out of him. Wasn't asked to do it. System changed his senior year. Blah blah. All that stuff. You start hearing all these voices. There's a lot of noise, and one of the biggest things about what I do and what Brett does for draft evaluation is limiting that noise or knowing which noises to listen to, which ones are important and which ones are just noise.
Mhm.
And I listened to the noise a little bit too much with Rodgers, and I kind of bumped him back up. I had him a lot lower than a lot of other people did, and I bumped him back up just a little
It
bit.
was the Senior Bowl that got me because he did
Yeah.
so well at the Senior Bowl.
I know. And there's all these inputs, what they did in college and their interviews and their size and their scores. And then, things like all-star games. It all comes in mix and stir, and you don't get everything on every guy. So it's challenging. And I just, right at the end, I was like, I think I probably just artificially pushed him down a little bit. And turns out, at least in his first stop, no, I was about right, and I shouldn't have bumped it back up. And it was because of the noise. I let myself listen to it. So it's one of those things.
Noah says, how is cover 6 played in a 3x1 with a crosser from number 3? So if we're just sticking with this, where let's say they're playing cover 2 over the strong side, a lot of the times, if this mic is slow, they'll just play poach and have this guy have eyes on. So if he's coming on a crosser, he'll just poach it, and then because if he's running a crosser, then the mic will just drop, because you can assume that something's coming in behind that. So if they're running like cross and then a dagger, which was like the Chiefs' entire offense in 2019, he'll pass this off. The safety will poach it, and then he'll sit here waiting for that. Right now, if the quarter side is over here, and then you're running across, it'll kind of just run straight into the half field safety anyway. Well, if it's a deep cross, but it really just depends on who's playing linebacker. Is he slow or is he not slow? That is the question. Although, to be honest, in nickel, most of the time the mic is actually going to be over here, and they're going to play somebody smaller called a money backer to passing strength. I just went with a straight up normal nickel here, but personnel is key.
Really interesting question from Mark Bittner in chat that I want to get to after this play by the Raiders. Question about the Eagles, interestingly enough, but okay. There's not a lot to that play. So Mark's question: how many QBs would do just as good or better than Hurts on the Eagles? That situation is just outrageously good. It is, and we talked at length on this week's pod and many other pods this year about how good the situation is on the Eagles. Do not discount what Jalen Hurts is doing within that system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks. We were just talking about Baker Mayfield in an excellent system. Like, Stefanski came in and they had all the talent. They had guys that they weren't even using. They were legit 3 deep at running back, 4 deep at tight end. They had good receivers. The offensive line was one of the best in the NFL. Like, you should be crushing it, right? On offense, you should be crushing it. And Baker couldn't crush it. He had some great games. He had some lousy games. They couldn't crush it. The Eagles right now are clicking on all cylinders and crushing it. Yeah, it was a rough collision. However,
were they trying to run spear and they ran into each other?
I'm not sure, but Keelan Cole's arm is not looking good.
He can't move it.
Yep. No. That's a shoulder or a stinger. I'm not sure which. Or a broken collarbone, but we'll see. Anyways, what Hurts is doing, you still have to do it. Oh, and he came down on that.
Oh, yeah, that's
scap
right there.
That or scap, because he landed right on his shoulder blade.
Either way, it fucking hurts.
Oh, it hurts a lot.
It hurts real bad.
Just just to follow up on that, don't discount what Hurts is doing. It
Yeah.
is, you can have the best setup in the world. You can have the best coaches and the best players and everything else. You still got to pull the trigger. Ball
No.
caused by the ground.
Oh.
Caused by the ground. Got to be caused by the ground.
No, I'm saying no. I need him to not get yards.
Oh, he's not feeling great either.
Oh, did he get hurt too? Shit.
It didn't look great. Look at him. He's like,
What
I
happened?
can't feel my hand right
Oh
now.
no. Hope it's a funny bone and not a shoulder. Oh, please be okay.
Ow.
Oh, ooh,
Yeah.
motherfucker. Ah,
Bang.
ah.
Aye.
I
Boy.
think he might have popped that out.
This is a rugged game, folks. NFL is a rugged game physically. Like,
Jeez.
and here's another big hit right on the boundary. Wagner pleading, hey, I hit him at the boundary. You're not giving him the free first down. You can forget about that.
Bro, I think he dislocated his shoulder.
It's possible. Literally, you're talking to a guy with a grade 3 AC sprain as we speak.
I know. Also, Bobby just detonated.
Yeah, Bobby
Derek.
Tech. Like, play after play, the NFL is a physical grind. It's not awesome. But no, Bobby is not giving this up. He's like, no, you don't get to dive for
I think
free.
that's an early shot of the week nominee.
If you're
I
gonna
think it
dive at
is.
the marker, you're eligible. You're not giving yourself up. You are a runner at that point. So that is not anything about, oh, you hit the quarterback. Like, quarterback was diving for the first down. He is, and Wagner was right there. He's a smart player. He's right there saying, rule doesn't apply to him. He was diving head first for the marker. I have every right to try and oppose that.
Yeah.
People were talking about all my quiet mime reactions while you were doing long coverage explanations as being positive.
let him go. Let him go, dear. He's having a moment. Yeah. GPG 2017 for £5. Do the Bears go out and try to get Elton Jenkins this offseason and add some stability to the offensive line? Yes, please. 100% would love that. Elton has not played like his usual self this year, but he's still better than anybody the Bears would get otherwise. So,
and he's
yes.
got 5-tool versatility, which is huge for a line like the Bears that can't stay healthy and loses the other guy every week. Elton Jenkins is one of the rare guys in the NFL. I can think of, I don't know, 5, maybe. And this is just offhand. Don't hold me to the list, but
Larry
I can think
Allen.
of maybe 5 guys in the NFL that can play all 5 positions and do it pretty well, like at an NFL level. And Elton Jenkins is one of those guys. He's proven it. That is rare versatility at this level and makes him worth the price of admission because you can plug him in literally at any spot.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but the Bears' offensive line tends to get hurt a lot, so being able to move somebody around is semi-valuable.
Oh, I love this question from Riker Gaming. This is a good one. $9.99 for Super Chat. Thank you very much, Riker. Earlier, you guys talked a bit about QB tiers. Yes, which is one of my least favorite conversations because anything you say can be taken the wrong way, and you got to put out so much context around what you're saying and when and about what part of their game. But we do it occasionally, and we did do it earlier. Would you now say that Tua and Hurts are in the same tier as Burrow and Herbert, or are they still a tier below? And I have a fascinating answer to this question. Brett, you have any early thoughts, or you want me to give my fascinating answer?
I think the question is dependent on, are they in their own offense, or are we dropping them in just a neutral offense? As in, like, who would run a certain system the best, or who runs their own system the best? Because they all run wildly different offenses that are kind of hard to compare one-to-one. So I think at the end of the day, it's like, if I was a general manager, who am I taking first in the draft? You know, probably Burrow, and then Herbert, and then Hurts, and then Tua. But then that just becomes a tools conversation, which is only part of it, you know?
Right.
So
which is
it depends.
Yeah. I think the context does matter. And I think for that context, we do need to leave them in the situations they're in.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I would say Tua and Hurts are a tier below Burrow, or a few notches below Burrow. You can talk about tiers and where the breaks are, because that's really what defines a tier. Is where's the break point? We go this many guys, there's a break, and now we're in a different tier. They are a few notches below Burrow. And in terms of just the frame you talked about, within their own offenses in this space in time, above Herbert.
That's the thing, is like Herbert's offense, like the Lombardi offense sucks.
Yes.
So it's like
100%.
It's like, oh yeah, he's really bad in not even bad. It's like, oh, he's struggling and fighting to survive in an objectively bad offense. Like, you put Herbert in Miami, I think the results are not that different.
I completely agree. Again, if we go back to the tools conversation, Herbert jumps. And this is why I did my quarterback rankings the way I did them this year in the draft, is because I was struggling. Brett will tell you, I was struggling with my quarterback rankings. And I was like, there's just no good way to do this. And I was like, okay, smart ass, make a new way, right? Rebuild the problem. And the problem is, what are we talking about? Are we talking about to win right now? Or are we talking about 2 or 3 years down the road as a guy you want to develop? Who will be the best then? And I put out 2 boxes with those rankings, the same 5 or 6 guys at the top. I forget. And I reordered them based on, well, what are you drafting on? Because it really is different. If you need a guy to contribute this year, like Malik Willis was not your guy. But Malik Willis has tools upon tools, is really smart, is a hard worker. You give him a couple of years with a good offensive coach, he very possibly could be in the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. So what are you drafting on? Do you need him now? Do you need him later? Was sort of the division I came up with. And I felt so much better about doing it that way. It was more complicated. There's more nuance, but if you pay attention to Bootleg, you understand that we like complication and nuance, and we try to address and attack that and chop it apart so it's more understandable. And many of you have said that's why you love it. So that question I would pull apart in that way. Burrow, the clear, like both tools and fitness system, clear winner, right? He is at the clear top of that. Tua and Hurts are doing very similar things, which is funny because Tua and Hurts played for the same college program at the same time. They are in different situations, but both very advantageous, i.e. surrounded by talent and good offensive systems right now, and are clicking. So they are the next, and, is one above the other. I might give Tua half a whisper edge over Hurts right now, but they're so close, it's hardly worth talking about. And then Herbert, again, much more because of the boat anchor around his neck of the Lombardi offense than any of his physical skills. Physically, he can do anything on a football field, and does often because he has to in that offense. But I would put him, again, with the tiers or the stipulation we laid out at the top, I would put him fourth in that conversation. Tools, probably number 1. Actuality, the way we said we were going to rank them, fourth. Clearly fourth this year.
I think Josh Jacobs just went to the locker room, by the way, which is unfortunate. They were taping up his hand, looked like.
Yeah, his hand looked like it got smashed and dragged underneath him, which didn't look great.
Mark Kreutzer a while back, $5, said that, going back to the Avatar conversation, said that people are tired of, the MCU and basically every fucking movie being the MCU, and that Top Gun 2 kind of proved that you can just give people something new.
Proved.
I mean, it made a shitload of money, EJ. He's got a point.
No, but think about how long it took. It's fantastic, but think about how long it took. And it wasn't something new. It's literally
new to this generation, not new to us because we grew up with it. New to this generation.
It's literally a sequel. Like, I mean, Avatar is the same thing in terms of big first one. Oh, here it is again. A long gap, and then a second one. Now, I would argue, because I went back and watched the original Top Gun with the family right before Top Gun Maverick came out, and I was like, I love that movie as a kid growing up. I was the demographic for when that movie came out. And loved it. Going back and watching it, there are things that hold up very, very well, and there are things that do not hold up at all. And that's all right. Still love the movie because it holds a place in time for when I watched it. But the new one, new technology and whatever else, but Yeah, I don't. The whole idea of saying Maverick told them that you could do something new. I'm like, did it
I think
though?
it told him that you don't have to do a comic book movie
You do not have
to
to do
make
a
$1
comic
billion.
book. You do not have to do a comic book and effects movie. But again, if you're going to try to do something original, which the first Avatar was, outside of the story, which was Pocahontas, um, you know,
There's new technology at least.
yeah,
And back then, God, so it's funny because now we're at the point where I think there's people that are, in high school and early college years that maybe don't remember that like every fucking movie back in the day came out in 3D. And we are now far enough removed from the 3D craze that I don't even know if they experienced that. But the thing is, Avatar was one of the only movies ever that was like worth it to see in 3D. And then it just kind of died a horrible death.
did you did you ever see it in IMAX 3D?
I actually did.
That was tough. It was tough to keep up with. There's just
Yeah,
a lot.
there's a lot. Mark for $5. I'm specifically talking about the ambitious spectacle and completely earnest melodrama, as the ways Avatar and Top Gun sequels are analogous. I could see that. I could see that.
I'm sorry. The phrase completely earnest melodrama caught me.
So here's why he's right
No, he's dead on correct, but it's the way it rings in your ear. Completely
about
earnest
Top Gun
melodrama.
because you're thinking of like you're thinking fucking sweaty muscle dudes playing volleyball, but the Iceman scene with Tom Cruise for so many reasons, like I think it was a great callback for like it was both nostalgia and bittersweet and emotional, and it was like the perfect moment in that movie that quite frankly I don't think Avatar
No.
can match that moment.
No. Ooh.
But we'll see.
Oh, one of the guys we really liked in the draft just showed why.
Who was it that just got the carry? Oh, Bam. Yeah.
No.
It was
No.
White, right?
Yeah, it was. That's not the guy I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guy that tackled him.
I didn't see who it was.
Watch the end of this run. Bam! That was Bobby Brown.
Oh, yeah.
From the interior of the from the interior of the offensive line, about 10 yards down the way, like smacking a running back in the back. Like he is crazy athlete. He can move at his size, lightning quick. And if there's one thing we know about Les Snead and the Rams, they do love themselves an athlete. Jacob Harris, Tutu Atwell, Bobby Brown, very different athletes, all athletes.
Tutu is just so different than every NFL archetype ever that like it's almost hard to evaluate because it's like how he's so small. Like I get he's fast.
No, and he is outlier size for sure. You have to truly believe in the Tutu Atwell experience to invest in a guy that size, that high.
Yeah.
Noah Khan for $1.99. Thank you, Noah. Favorite movies? Here's mine. Shawshank Redemption. Great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have a lot of favorite movies.
Are we just talking like movies that we could just sit down and watch anytime? Because for me, that's
Well,
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, Shaun of the Dead's awesome. And yes, I own it, and that's funny. We haven't talked about that, but let's use the category that if you were, sitting down on your couch and flipping through channels, and this movie came on, you know what you're doing for the next hour and 15 minutes. There's no way you're moving. Like, name some of those, because not all of those, because I don't think that's possible for me. But name some of those for you.
I mean, Shaun of the Dead's on that list for me. Robin Hood, Men in Tights. God, this is an excellent question. Oh, fuck yeah. Especially for the second half.
Just Heat.
You really just need the second half of Heat, and that's it.
Yeah. And as a link, not the same, but a similar type of movie that I actually prefer, and that's a crazy statement, but it's true, Ronin.
I can see that.
Love Ronin.
My Cousin Vinny.
Okay.
Tremors. I'm all over the place.
Tremors.
Yeah,
Impressive.
Tremors and Tremors 2. I would even say
Oh,
Tremors 3.
okay.
Somebody in chat mentioned Kingdom of Heaven director's cut. Those last two words are very important because the Kingdom of Heaven director's cut versus the normal Kingdom of Heaven, two entirely different movies. Totally agree. Director's cut it is. Any of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially extended edition, you have
Pretty
to
much.
peel me off the couch for that. Ocean's 11, great pick, and 12 and 13, I would even say. Major League, yes.
Oh, Major League or Bull Durham. I'll take either one. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in. Like, I have both of those right over here. I'm looking at my movie shelf. What else is over here? Oh, Raiders for sure. I mean, that's a throwback, but Raiders. Like, I'm not going anywhere for Raiders.
For me, National Treasure, believe it or not.
Oh no, I love National Treasure.
National Treasure for sure.
I love National Treasure. You know they have a series coming now.
I've only seen like one trailer for it. It intrigued me.
No, it's coming. What else is over here? I have movies stacked behind my monitors. So I'm gonna. Hunt for Red October's there.
Yes.
Red. I love Red. Red's amazing. The Rock. Come on. John Wick. Anything. Like
any of them.
All of the Wicks are great. Baby Driver. Strangely enough.
Baby Driver's good.
Like Baby Driver.
What was that one? Let me find.
If we're talking MCU movies, it's like Captain America, Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier's amazing. One of my favorites. I have lots. Spider-Verse is great. My kids just watched Spider-Verse again for the whatever time a couple of weeks ago. Crimson Tide, the original Rocky, absolutely. Bullet Train. I saw Bullet Train.
Don't spoil it. I'm waiting to watch it.
I will not say anything about it. I actually saw it on the plane on the way home from Buffalo.
I've heard
I watched it like really recently. I wanted to see it, and I was surprised that it was on the movie list. And I watched it on the way home from Buffalo when we went to watch Packers versus Bills. Loved it. Great film. Is it up in my favorite pantheon? It's close. It's got some really good characters.
You know what's up there for me?
What's that?
Smoking Aces. You ever see Smoking Aces?
Oh yeah, no, I have Smoking.
Love Smoking Aces.
Smoking Aces is so. If we're talking about melodrama for Top Gun, like Smoking Aces is just so over the top. Like it is over the top. Like that's the whole point. It's like overkill is the thing. Maximum excess. Deadpool, the original Deadpool.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's gonna catch me every time. No Country for Old Men, great movie.
I need to be in the right mood for that amount of.
There are 300, Connor, great film. I watch slices of 300 all the time.
Casino Royale.
Yes, Casino Royale is great, and I own it.
Nice throw from Baker. By the way, there's a football game on.
I know.
Nice little sidearm throw.
Movies and football games. So, if Jacobs is gone, first half slip is dead or mostly dead? Speaking of movies, he's been mostly dead all day.
Let me see.
Princess Bride. Come on, Princess Bride. Been mostly dead all day.
So if Jacobs is out, we need 19 more yards from Devontae. We need Derek Carr to step it up big.
Oops. Well, there goes that.
And then we need, Bobby's already hit. We need 3 yards from Tutu Atwell, and we need 2 more catches from Mac.
The way Baker, flag. Come on. Does the flag count towards the slip? It's all the yards he gained. It's all the yards he gained. Come on.
I needed that, though. I really needed that.
He got mugged.
Yeah. So give me a screen to Tutu for like 4 yards, and we're good there. And then I need Derek Carr, Devontae, and Matt Collins to just go buck wild in the fourth quarter.
You need him to go buck wild. That's the other thing about Tutu Atwell being really small.
One arm will send him flying.
Light contact, it's DPI because he's going to go cartwheeling off like an Indy car that lost a wheel.
Oh, man. Matt Collins is going to get paid this offseason. Probably. I would love for the Bears to pay him.
No, they were supposed to pay him last free agency cycle when I said they should have.
Well,
and it would have been cheaper.
New GM.
No, just let's overpay for things we could have underpaid for the year before. Oh, here's the reverse.
to tutu for
Yeah,
a
it
yard.
doesn't count. Doesn't count, but it's fun football.
I don't
Come
think
on.
he's going to be that expensive though.
He's not going to be that expensive, but come on, you could have had him for
Dude,
peanuts.
you have $1 billion. You're
I
fine.
know, but I was pounding the table for peanuts, and now everybody's like, spend more money to get the same thing, and I'm like, no, it would have been.
They literally have to spend money to get up to the salary floor anyway. So it's like
I understand that, but you know me, do love a value.
Aliens or Aliens, Predator or Prey. I still haven't seen Prey, but I've heard Prey is really good.
No, Prey's outstanding. Prey is the best movie in the series since
The OG Predator,
maybe the original.
Yeah.
And I have seen the rest, and I loved the original, and I thought 2 was okay. It was very, very different, but I thought 2 was okay. Aliens is all-time classic for me, and it has a lot to do with how I saw it, but that movie still just crushes.
There was a Predator movie where it was like a whole bunch of criminals that were like dropped on an alien planet. It came out like, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
That was fun. And then
The fact that you can't, the fact that you can't remember which one is which though is really
that's where the series is at now. Where it's like there was one that came out a decade ago.
Yeah. Chronicles of Riddick. Hey, Chronicles of Riddick. Where do you stand on Chronicles of Riddick?
Better than Pitch Black.
Yeah, but actually a really
solid
under the radar,
movie.
Great film.
Yeah,
like it a lot.
There's my tutu. Assuming this flag is not on LA, there's my tutu.
You're wearing a tutu next stream? Is that what
I will?
Okay. If we
he
win,
makes
but we're
me
not
$500 on this slip, I'll wear a tutu.
Yeah, but we ain't gonna. It's Jake. We need stuff from Jacobs. Now Jacobs could have some Superman triumphant return where he comes back, rips open his jersey. He's got the big silver and black S, and he goes out and gets you your yards. But I think that's your one for tutu.
No, chat. Brian's Song is not one of the movies I'll sit down and watch anytime because I don't want to be a blubbering mess every time I sit on the couch. I need to be emotionally prepared for that movie, which is almost never.
Yeah, there are those movies, and we will have that conversation during a different stream about movies that you only watch when you are damn good and ready. And I have some of those over here. I've watched them very few times, but every time they knock you in the guts.
Uh-huh.
Ooh. Is that Perryman? That felt like 52. Perryman.
Twin,
yep.
Couple of missed super chats. Twin, if we missed your super chat, I apologize. Type it back in there. We'll hit it again. Don't pay again, but just type it back in there. Sometimes the super chats on the YouTube stream chat don't let us scroll back up to find them. So if we missed them, just let me know.
The Kid Detective. Don't watch the trailer. Don't read anything about it. Go in blind. That's one of the greatest things that I miss about movies in like the late 70s, even into pretty much the late 80s, which is really sort of my peak of coming into, understanding movies and cinema. And the whole bit is you got one trailer and you might see it and you might not. Because really the only place it was playing was at the movies. And if you went to the movies, you might see the trailer if it played during the movie you were at. Other than that, you would occasionally get like an ad until like the middle 80s on TV. And then you started seeing branding stuff, Pepsi and whatever, 83, 84, Pepsi and Top Gun was a classic. And then, anyways, before that, it's just, if you didn't go to the theaters, you didn't see the trailer, you didn't know what a movie was about. You heard it was from a director and it had maybe one of the actors you knew in it, and you went and you were like, oh, this is so cool. And now it's like you see the press tour and the branding and the marketing and the teasers and the trailers and the making of, and you get there and you've seen 2/3 of it. So pretty crazy.
I found one of the missed super chats from Twin for 27 SEX, which I think is that SEX.
This is why you don't bet on kickers, by the way.
I didn't.
That's right.
Ron Zacapa, or is it Kappa? I've seen the bottle. 20 to 23-year-old rum. Order it and thank me later. I was actually at a rum bar up in LA, and they had those, and it was like I think it was a 20. And I saw it on the shelf.
20-year-old rum?
Did not get it, but I saw it, and it looked very enticing, but it was also very expensive on the menu. So I stuck with my Diplomatico, which was like, $12, something like that. But I saw it on the menu for like $50.
Which Diplomatico did you do, though?
The 14.
Okay, because I saw the Reserva the other day at the place where I ended up picking up the Burrell Seagrass.
Hmm.
They had like the Reserva, which is the silver bottle, like I don't know, it's 20 or 25 or something. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, I bet that's good because I've had the 12 and it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
Diplomatico a lot. I also like Mount Gay, which is a Barbados rum that
Yeah.
got a lot of spice to it.
I think I have now you're making me thirsty. I have a little bit of Durley's left. I don't have a lot.
My Durley's 12 is downstairs.
Yeah, my Durley's 8, I think, is upstairs.
God, I love Durley's.
Durley's is great. It's good stuff.
But yes, I have heard of the Ron Zacapa
I might
ones, but
have
I've not had one before.
I might have to get some. Rum is a very holiday type drink, and we are rapidly approaching all of the holidays. Jacobs is hobbling. He's back. He does not like that hand.
SEK is Swedish currency. Okay, I was wondering. I was like, is that Iceland? Is it Finland? Sweden. There we go. Well, I probably should have guessed that based on the Swedish flag.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Blue and yellow. It's either Subaru Rally colors or Sweden.
Well, welcome from Sweden. I know it's very late for you right now, or early, I should say.
It's still dark.
It's like
what it is
4 in the
Sweden.
morning. Stockholm's on my list to go to. It's a gorgeous place.
I was gonna let chat vote on what I drink in the fourth quarter, but now I really want Durley's.
Can't go wrong.
No, and I really want it. So that's like, do you ask the question if it's like 4 options to vote on the poll? It's like Durley's,
Yeah.
or Durley's.
So Jacob's back out there. They strapped him
know.
up.
Yeah, but where's he at? Let's check real quick. He has 74 yards rushing and 15 receiving. I think you have a chance of keeping him under.
Depends on if they keep giving him touches.
I also understand that.
We'll see. But I need you to fucking throw to Devontae.
Ha! Oh, Fitzy, I do love you, man. He just sent me a picture. He said, finally figured it out. He's got the game on the TV above us on the TV below.
Oh, wonderful.
It's not
There
even
you go.
picture in picture. It's TV and TV. The fact that we rate a TV.
Oh,
No,
he's still shaking his hand. So it was his hand. He stiff-armed somebody.
No, he fell on it and it rolled underneath him. Jared Cole, EJ says, we'd pick absinthe. We're not allowing absinthe back in the choices.
It's outlawed.
In fact, I need to find a place where I can donate a lightly used pint bottle of Oregon Spirits absinthe because I took 2 shots out of that and I really don't have a lot of desire to do anything else with it.
It killed you. It killed you.
It didn't kill me. It's just like, it is fascinating stuff, though. If you put absinthe over ice, watch what happens. If you go back and watch that video, it looks like I'm drinking lemonade.
It's
like
very cloudy.
as you put absinthe in ice, it goes from a clear to a very sort of convection fluid to a cloudy and precipitate. It's sort of scary as you're watching it, getting ready to put it, down the hatch. You're like, wait, that was clear, and now it looks like sort of frothy lemonade. Like, uh-oh. Yikes.
Chat, to answer your question, we have Jacobs under 19.5 fantasy points. He's at 16.9 right now, so we need him to stop being good. And then we have him under 113.5 rushing plus receiving. He's at 89 right now. So again, need him to stop being a good football player for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and
just take a break,
okay.
Josh. Let that hand heal up.
Tutu hit his over. Mac, we need 2 catches. Still need 20 yards for Devontae, and then Derek, I'm kind of writing off. But if we can get Devontae over and Mac over, that'll still pay out 2x, so we'll still make $40 on it.
All right, I'm down. All right, Connor Sewell. Connor, I want to address this one because this has been a topic of conversation multiple times in my life over the last month. Connor says, my family has a bottle of $6,000 whiskey that we can't work out when is the right time to open. Here's the answer. Now.
Yeah.
Do it with your family.
Mm-hmm.
Get those folks around. Get the folks who are close to you that you love around and open that damn thing. Because somebody's going to go. And there's a great story in what the heck is the name of that bourbon video that I said, have you seen it? And you said yes. It was on Amazon.
Oh, I know.
Neat.
Neat.
It's neat.
Neat.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a great story in Neat about exactly that. This guy had a really expensive, like limited edition bottle of like Pappy, and he works at Buffalo Trace, and he had his father and his brother there, and they were, and he gave him a little pour each, and his dad said, don't do that. Like, fill it up. Like, this is what these times are, what this is for. And he said he realized at that point, yeah, this is exactly what these bottles are for. And his dad said there will always be other rare bottles of whiskey, but there won't be other times like this. So they filled it up, drank the whole thing. He said 9 months later, they were both gone.
Yeah.
So just do it. The answer to that question is now. Do it with your family, do it with your friends, enjoy it, get them together and say, guess what? We're going to take the most expensive bottle you've ever seen and share it. Mm-hmm. Do it now.
You never know when you're going to get another chance.
That's right.
And the biggest regret you will have is not drinking it too early. It's drinking it too late.
Oh, Tim Abbott dropping some absinthe knowledge in chat. Absinthe have fennel and star anise. Yes, I was aware of both, which aren't as soluble in water and crash out of solution, hence the cloudiness.
Oh.
Bingo.
How about that?
Is why I love having a smart audience in many ways that knows lots of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Rams are helping out keeping Josh Jacobs in check. So, they want to help us win.
That's a fascinating scientific answer. How about that?
I love it. Well, if you're into chemistry and being somebody that mixes drinks, you absolutely are, because it's a solution.
I wonder if you guys have decent access to plantation rum from Barbados. Cheaper, but very, very good. Yes, I have a plantation 3-star downstairs that is wonderful in a mojito.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Great rum.
I've had some straight.
Great.
I don't know if Brett knows that, but
no, I have not.
Doesn't matter. I've had some straight. It's real good. From Brett's liquor cabinet, by the way. Nah, baby.
Miss Super Chat. If Bootleg didn't have football, what would it be about?
Oh, yeah. This is a great question.
Drinking and F1 and rally cars.
And movies.
It'd
I mean,
be about whatever.
It'd be about whatever. It would be the Seinfeld of podcast. It would be a podcast about nothing where we talked about whatever sort of tickled our fancy that week. Yeah. And, it would still be a lot of fun. We might have Bootleg 2.
So there's this earnest melodrama called Top Gun.
And then they did the thing unthinkable, made a sequel, and it was better. Now, we could have a lot of fun with a lot of things. And we do, interestingly enough, when we have conversations outside of football, like when we were driving back from SoFi, last time I was down to Brett's house, and we went to the Rams game, Bills Rams. We were driving home, long time on the freeway in LA. Surprise, surprise, traffic's not great. We had probably not quite 2 hours, hour 40 minutes or something. And we ended up talking about what our daily driver would be if we had like
whatever money we wanted. Yeah.
Plenty of money, but not like ludicrous money, not like millions and millions, but like enough that we could spend a good bunch on a car. What would the daily driver be? And that was actually a harder question than like, what would you buy if money was no object? That's a little easier. But the like, hey, it's going to be your daily driver. You get one. You don't have to worry about what it costs, but you do have to live with it. Like, it's not just a showpiece, right? You have to go out and about it. And it was like, we spent, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes trying to come up with options that, I was like, I think this, maybe this. Oh, that's a good idea. And of course, you're in LA on a freeway. So you're like, ooh, one of those.
G-Wagon, 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 G-Wagon.
Our answers were not G-Wagon, but that's an inside Bootleg joke, is that by Brett's house, G-Wagons are like leaves off a tree. You can't go 5 minutes without seeing two of them. In my neck of the woods, you see one every few weeks if you're lucky. It's just not a super popular car up here. anyway, so I would just be like, G-Wagon, G-Wagon, G-Wagon. He's like, shut up, man, they're everywhere. And so then I just
What
said
was
it
it?
to
We
him.
were down in Laguna visiting our manager, and I was like, "Oh yeah, down in Laguna, it's very different than like coastal
Oh,
LA
God.
because the wealth is a lot more understated." And then we look over, and it's a fucking Rolls Royce.
Yeah, it was like, no, it was Rolls Royce, Bugatti, G-Wagon. The next three cars that passed us on Coastal Highway, he's like, it's a lot more understated. And it was like Rolls, Bugatti, G-Wagon. I was like, oh, yeah, subtle.
Understated. Yeah.
Subtle, buddy. Good times. The Denver Broncos have, so Christian Nagel, $20. Thank you very much, Christian. Really appreciate the support for the pod. Denver Broncos have 2 games this year with 2+ offensive TDs. Jamal Williams has 5. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're still
Like-
on. I think we're still on pace for Russell Wilson to have.
Oh, yeah.
more
Less than he has bathrooms
than touchdowns,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. More bathrooms in his house than touchdowns. That was last week's stream, I believe. Yes, these are the bootleg bets. This is what we would be talking about.
What was your answer for Daily Driver?
I think I settled on A7, like a A7S, which I instantly regretted because if you know me, I'm a biggest Blueberry guy. It's always the next and better and whatever. And I had 5 better answers later. But I think during that conversation, what I came up with was A7S.
I can't remember what I said. Was it the e-tron?
Yours wasn't e-tron. I'm trying to remember what yours was because I knew you were going to ask. And I don't remember what it was, but I was somewhat
Or
surprised.
was it a Rivian? It might have been a Rivian.
Well, we both want Rivians. You can have the SUV. I'll take the truck.
I
But,
love the SUV. I saw one in a
you-
parking lot the other day.
I-
And I was like, ah,
I love the
so
truck.
bad.
The truck is pretty popular up here now. I see more and more all the time, and I very much want one. So if anybody knows anybody at Rivian, we have a fantastic idea for a little
Partnership.
sponsorship that makes really good sense. So connect us. We would love to talk to Rivian, even though they're practically Brett's neighbors down in Southern
Let's
California.
make each other a lot of money here, chat.
Yes, indeed. Let's do that. You want to see us driving Rivians? I know you do. Thank you for the great whiskey advice. It's life advice, Connor. It just has to do a little bit with whiskey, which,
A little bit,
whiskey
bit.
and life, same thing. You're welcome. Thank you for all the support that you've given us since the beginning. Truly appreciate it. But it opened my eyes because I have bottles that I'm saving and other things too. It's not just whiskey, like, oh, when's the right time to break this thing out or use the good silverware or do this or do that or whatever it is in your life that you're sort of hoarding. And then you realize, what am I really going to do with this? Is this just for me or is this something I really want to share with people that will enjoy it? And I think probably 8 times out of 10, the answer is, man, I really want someone else to be here with me enjoying this when I do whatever it is. And the whiskey was just the focus point for that. And then I realized, there are gonna be other bottles, right? There are very few.
They
I would
release
say
them
there-
every year.
I know. I would say there are no irreplaceable things. Like things are things. They're irreplaceable people, but things are things, and it really is about the sharing. Even if it's not $6,000 whiskey, even if it is a $30 bottle of tequila that you really like and think is really good, like who else would you want to share that with but other people that you enjoy that enjoy tequila? Like you would want that to be a thing because you can both sit around and go, man, this is really good. And we appreciate the chance to do this together. So it's one of the great things about bootleg actually is this is one of the core of the things we do, right? We both enjoy football. And the reason that we gravitated towards each other, quickly and strongly is because we enjoy it in a similar way. And it was like, well, I just want to do more of this. Like, and I want to do it with you because you understand what I'm talking about. And so few people do. And it was both of us saying that to each other at the same time. And that's why bootleg is
Carl Davis? Carl Davis, yeah.
Carl Davis is the bootleg cornerstone, man. If you don't know who Carl Davis is, go back, look him up. We spent probably 30 minutes talking about Carl Davis and what our draft eval was of Carl Davis. And very few people, I think, could have or would have done that. And even fewer of them would have enjoyed it. And we freaking loved it. And at that point, it was like, let's do it.
Brian in chat said, my brother was a tech for them a little while ago. He's working for a company putting modules together for shuttles and the ISS now, though. Holy shit, your brother is intimidatingly smart. That's like literal rocket science.
I was going to say, he's an actual rocket scientist. So there you have it.
Man, that's insane.
My favorite, one of my favorite action sports buddies that I used to know because of, it was a Higbee catch. He's alive.
20 yards.
Yeah. Well, I could see Baker hitting him. Baker hits the tight end occasionally. He did in Cleveland. He had 3 tight ends, and he'd hit one of them each game.
At least once.
Once, yes.
Declan a little while back in chat said, you guys have made me want to explore good alcohol as a 21-year-old. I've started a run through of 50 classic cocktails and gotten some friends who have gone along with me. I'll tell you what, as a 21-year-old, I wish that I started with... What? Oh, God, ran right into his ass. As a 21-year-old, I wish that I started with higher quality booze and classic cocktails rather than like going to the bar and getting adios motherfuckers, because I would have saved myself a lot of hangovers if I started with better quality drinks. The higher quality booze you drink and the less sugar, the less you're going to get hungover. So yeah, stick with old fashions and Sazeracs and last words and all that kind of stuff, because like you'll still hurt in the morning, but like not as much. So
not as much. Or, you can just drink things that taste good and not too many. You probably won't do that in your 20s. I don't know too many people that did that in their 20s, but it's one of the reasons I've been able to keep drinking is that, it's not, I don't like getting hammered anymore. Like getting well and truly hammered is not a good feeling because you will pay for it. But trying new things, I actually really do enjoy that, and it's been a great byproduct of this is that Brett has a lot of knowledge and a lot of different knowledge. Holy cow, did Crosby get bend on Hammerstein?
Ask the offensive line coaches on Twitter if that's a hold, though.
Yeah, but ask the offensive line coaches what they would do against that.
Just pray.
Yeah, nothing is the answer. Like Max is. He's tall. He's got great length in his frame. He's bendy. He's fast. He's got power. We saw his change of direction skill earlier in the game. He is one of the best defensive ends in the NFL.
Greg Patton for $5. Forza Horizon versus F1. Which is the better driving series, boys? I'm a Forza stan, unapologetically. So I will always go with Forza, especially with the car customization and like. The paint jobs, and I do feel like the customization internally used to be like better in Forza. I think they're coming out with a new one pretty soon though. But like Forza, it's either Forza 2 or Forza 3 back in the day. Like I put a ridiculous amount of hours into
that. Nick says, point being, I went to high school with Carl Davis.
Oh, no shit.
Like, wow. So you know more about him than we do. That's awesome.
He's gigantic.
Yeah, he's a very, very solid dude. I came up with an American answer to the Irish car bomb. Drop a shot of diesel into Four Loko. I call it the IED.
The more dangerous part of that is the Four Loko.
that is a 20-year-old idea if I've ever heard one. That's ugly. Yikes.
Four Loko did. The younger people watching this stream don't understand the damage that Four Loko did to the American economy from roughly 2009 to 2014. Yeah. They don't get it. It was a wasteland out there, guys.
This is old man yells at cloud.
You should have walked the strip.
Oh no, Van.
Yeah. Ooh, big smack too.
Jefferson.
You should have walked the strip in Vegas when Four Loko was at its prime. Oh my God. It was like a fucking Mad Max movie out there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got. I was
EJ, you dodged a bullet by not being in your 20s when Four Loko.
No, absolutely. I had it the very first time. Somebody was like, "You got to try it." I was like, "I really don't." And then they were like, "No, you got to try it." And I was like, "Okay, let's see." And I was like, "Oh, they've put all 4 elements together that you need for an elixir of the gods. This is interesting, and it's going to be very, very dangerous." Cool.
Four Loko has its own chapter in pharmacy textbooks.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
You need electrolytes, you need caffeine, you need alcohol, and you need carbonation.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Raiders are hitting
Again,
today.
I was gonna say NFL, tough game. Taurine in it, thinking football. What ingredient did they ban? They banned the combination of too many good things in one can. That's what they banned.
Yeah, alcohol plus like that much caffeine is
Yeah.
just you can't do
Well,
it.
it's wide awake drunk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've people have had that experience for, centuries, but it never came in one can. You had to do two different
You had to
things.
do vodka and a lot of Red Bull.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Gambler's Delight
Yeah.
before that, but even
Yeah.
before that, you drink, coffee and whiskey and you get all wired and hammered and it's not a new thing, but you add the sort of electrolytes to keep you feeling okay while you're doing it. So
While
you
being
don't,
not okay.
yeah, so you get that feeling of no, no, I'm great. I have a ton of energy. I feel great. Nothing's wrong. And then the meter for what's wrong is running, backwards in the wrong direction really quickly. Did he get his face mask pulled?
It kind of looked like it.
It kind of looked like it. It was an almost a Van Jefferson on the sidelines, but yeah, Baker's. I can't tell if Baker's having fun or if he's terrified or both.
I think he's having fun out there. He's just happy to be playing.
Yeah. Well, he is absolutely happy to be on the team. No, he didn't. He just did his little head duck thing that he does when he lets it go. I think that's still compensating for the shoulder. Look at. Oh no, he got it pulled. He got his shoulder pad pulled.
A little
All
bit,
right.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Four logo ruined so many relationships and friendships. Yes, yes, it's true.
It was basically just like a legalized version. I swear to God, it was like a legalized version of PCP. Like that's what it was.
Oh man, pour 6 shots of vodka into a Bang energy drink and you've got it. Not exactly, but close. Yes.
Can you? I don't even think you can get Bang anymore because that
I-
company went under too.
Yeah,
Bang had its own issues that were numerous.
very different. Yes, very very different. Wait, we're deep into the fourth quarter and I've not gone up and get a shot yet. I'm gonna have to do that. All right, false start, perfect time. False
Skoranek
start,
might have dropped that. I don't know.
perfect time. Be right back.
Go for it. GPG for £5. Of the players you wish Chicago had taken last draft, who do you think will have the best career, and why did Green Bay draft half of them instead? I wanted them to draft Zach Tom for obvious reasons because Zach Tom's really good, but whatever, we don't all get what we want. Who else did I wish Chicago had taken in the last draft? Because they took a couple DBs. I can't remember who got taken behind their DBs. Zach Tom didn't go to like the fourth round, so they had multiple opportunities to take him and did not. So they took. When did they take Kyler? Kyler I actually like a lot, but right after him, and then they took Brisker. So after Kyler and Brisker, Pickens went after. I would have taken Pickens. I loved Pickens. I had him as a top 14 or 15 pick. I would have taken him and not looked back. I really liked Alec Pierce. I liked Sky Moore. They all went behind them. EJ really liked Nick Bonito, but I don't necessarily think he would have fixed their issues. They ended up taking Velus Jones after all those receivers went. Christian Watson went after as well, I think. Like there was 4 receivers that I was really, really high on that they took DBs instead of, which was unfortunate. I was a big fan of Channing Tindall at linebacker because I kind of figured they were going to move on from Roquan at some point, which they did. And Tindall was the guy I kind of wanted him to replace Roquan with, but he went to Miami in the 3rd round. Cade Otton, I was a huge fan of. He went in the 4th round. Dameon Pierce, I was a big fan of. He went in the 4th round. Not that they needed running back, but I also kind of thought that maybe they might trade Montgomery. Oh, Michael Clemens, I was a huge fan of, and he went in the 4th round as well. There was a lot of great players in this class that, again, I think Chicago got good players with Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, but for me personally, I would have prioritized building around Justin Fields by taking receivers that were not Velus Jones, and George Pickens was there, Christian Watson was there, Alec Pierce was there, Sky Moore was there, and they took DBs. It's not that I don't like the DBs they took. It's that I would have preferred that they make Justin Fields' life easier, and they didn't do that. EJ, the question was, out of all the players Chicago didn't take, which one would you want?
Yeah, there's a couple of receivers up high. Brisker's great, and I certainly a Kyler Gordon stan. And I think once they settle on leaving him outside and don't have him float to the slot, I think he will have a very solid NFL career. Yeah, a difference maker on the offense would have been interesting, and it was certainly called for a lot of people that was the choice. And one sort of hindsight look at that is Kindle Vilder has played way better in Alan Williams' defense than he did in Sean Desai's, because it's a different set of responsibilities for an outside corner.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually looked decent. And, given the corners that they played in Indy, okay, that kind of makes sense. But I wasn't thinking like that around the draft. I was like, they have Jalen Johnson. And if Jalen Johnson gets hurt, they have nobody outside. So they need corner. I wasn't really surprised when they picked Gordon. And I thought he was a good fit for what they needed. But that, again, was what Sean Desai needed, because we really didn't know. We had to guess what Eberflus and Alan Williams needed. But a receiver, would it have turned the tide this year? The answer is no, it wouldn't have. Would it have made it somewhat more fun? Yes, because the other thing, we talked about this earlier in this game, is that assemblage of third and fourth wide receivers on a team is important. And they did a lousy job at that too. Like, N'Keal Harry is not great. Like, Dante Pettis has played decent football for them. Byron Pringle, who was their big acquisition, mostly hurt. I think he'll be, better when he gets a little bit of time on the field. Oh, there you go.
There goes Cam Akers.
Cam Akers, a big run late in the game. Again, fumbled earlier.
They're only down 13. It's not even that far of a, you score here and then you got a shot,
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I would be fascinated to see Baker lead some kind of sterling comeback, even if it fell short in the last 8 minutes. That would be fun.
Promising.
Fun. Yeah.
Hockey's, first of all, thank you for sending me those mixers. I needed that. Go write your paper. Stop watching. Go write your paper.
Are we encouraging education? Is that what we're doing?
Jared says you have homework. You need to go write your paper.
Write your paper.
But I appreciate you.
Somebody apparently knows that I've been hanging out with you, and I went out for lunch the other day, and I noticed that our server and the bartender were mixing stuff behind the bar, and I was like, "What are you playing with?" And they're like, "Oh, we're making a, infused bourbon for Christmas."
Ooh.
And I was like, "Oh, really? Tell me more." And so they were telling me about what they were infusing the bourbon with, and I was like, "I'll take one of those." And he's like, "Oh, it's like young. It's not like super done. We're gonna let it sit another week, but I'll pour you one." And I was like, "Cool." So he brings me one, and it was I would say on the spicier side, and I don't mean spicy like hot. I mean like spiced, like spiced wine,
spices,
spiced cider. It was more spiced than things that I would typically like. I tend to like my bourbon a little bit straighter than that. But it was tasty, and they did a fine job with it. And then I actually sent you a picture of this. The old fashioned shows up because they're like, "We're going to make old fashions with it." And I was like, "Well, that would be
divine.
Delightful." Yeah. I mean, I could certainly see how that would go together. Like 5 minutes later, the old fashioned shows up, and I was like, "I didn't order that." And he's like, "I know." I was like, "Okay, well, you better bring lunch then soon, because I was working on a beer. You brought me an infused bourbon, and now I have an old fashioned in front of me, and there's no food here yet." Like, get to it.
Jared said we had here we go. Missed super chat. To be honest, Brett, I don't know if the play looks right. It's the first play Hugh Jackson gave to Kaiser in 2017. I just wanted a visual of it. Well, if I can dig up an old Browns playbook, I'll see how close I was. I was probably way
That's
off.
right. No, it's speaking of playbooks and first plays that are given to people, we heard news last week that Matt Nagy helped Pat Mahomes cheat. Oh, Max getting free again.
Yeah. That That side
Brett.
scissors move is just killing people.
Feel for the long lens, Brett. The receiver hit the long lens.
Yeah, but when that receiver's 155 pounds, I think he took more
He feels
damage than
better.
the camera
Look at that.
did.
Oh, geez. He's been working Rob Haverstein the whole game. Look at this. Whoop. Forget it. You got nothing. Baker gets that ball off, though. That's amazing.
So here's the thing: is Havenstein actually led with his. Here we go. He led with his inside hand because he didn't want to get the outside hand clubbed, but he didn't set deep enough, so he still got beat around the edge. If you're gonna lead with your inside hand because you don't want the outside one to get clubbed, you better be setting deep enough to still not give up that edge, because you have a soft edge when you're not leading with your outside hand. So I understand the technical reason why he didn't do that, but he didn't. His feet were off.
Don't look now. Baker's heating up.
So is Tutu Atwell.
Yeah,
Interestingly enough.
Two great tastes that taste great together. Oh, yikes. What a rough handoff. It's the little things. We said that last week on the podcast, or this week on the podcast. Last week, I guess.
Baker will be a Panthers legend forever. Showed up, got Rule fired, got Robbie Anderson traded, then left all for a fifth. You know, when you put it that way.
Yeah. Sold.
Oh, it's funny.
Oh, so I ended up with Doorleys, 8-year.
There you go.
Over ice. And happy holidays to all of you. No matter what your holidays are, I don't really care. I hope you get good time to celebrate with family and friends. And that's it.
Checking in on the slip here. Need Tyler Higbee to do something.
Baker! Oh, no.
Still got it off, though.
That's the thing. No, I'm saying, how did you manage, man? This is the Baker Mayfield magic. Is out of structure, shouldn't happen, still happens. If you want Baker to stand back and just quote unquote play quarterback in structure in the pocket, like there's 6 ways that pass shouldn't be completed, but
still got it.
There it is.
Still
there it is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I kind of want him to be the backup to Stafford, just have McVay kind of rebuild him, you know? Yeah. And there was an interesting story that came out that when McVay was flying to the Combine in the year Baker was coming out, because Baker was training in Southern California, he actually ended up on a flight with McVay. I think he said it was Southwest. And they sat next to each other on the flight to Indy. And funny. They talked for hours. And, you know, McVay that year obviously was like, we're not going to be able to pick you. We're too good. But
we're too good for you.
They were like way down there.
No, but I can't. We're too good for you.
We but he really liked Baker, and they had a great chat, and you know, he saw he was available, and that's why he claimed him. Is that's the thing, is like there's a lot of young people,
relationship business.
A lot of young people watching this. I need you guys to understand. Every conversation you have might not pay off until literally 5 years later, but how you treat people and the first impression you give and how approachable you are, how easy you are to talk to. Like, Baker didn't have to give Sean McVay the time of day. He wasn't going to pick him. But 5 years later, however he handled that conversation on the airplane clearly left a big enough impression on McVay that he gave him this shot that you're seeing right now. So just remember that. Even if you think that somebody can't help you now, you should still treat them with respect and still, you know, be a good, approachable person, because you never know what's going to happen in 5 years.
Isn't that the truth?
Shit, I didn't even know EJ 5 years ago.
That's very true. And I never would have gotten the opportunity to meet Brett by going to the Senior Bowl, which was the big opportunity, was the chance to get to go to the Senior Bowl. I didn't know Brett from a hole in the wall. I mean, I knew who he was and I knew what he did, but we'd never met or really spoken. But there were so many decisions that were just like that, you know, doing things for no money in the dark of night when nobody was watching, that everybody was like, why are you doing that? You're not getting paid. You know, there's not that many people that read it. There's not this, there's not that. And, you know, one thing turned into another, and then it turned into a gig writing for Windy City. And then, you know, Windy City didn't get invites, certainly. And then there was a change in who was running the Senior Bowl. And they had a very different perspective about quote unquote new media, which meant not newspapers and not teams, or not major, NFL media, Fox Sports, whatever. So folks that were podcasters, folks that had small websites, they understood the reach that all that had, and they welcomed it with open arms. And as a result, my editor, after years of working for WCG, called me and said, "Hey, do you want to go to the Senior Bowl?" And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go to the Senior Bowl. But if I'd given up 3 years before, which I thought about many times, quite frankly, that's the other part of this, is sometimes you just gotta, I don't know, it's blind faith or just, keeping your head down. But I thought many times, what are you doing? You're spending all this time, you're not seeing your friends, you're living in a dark room, watching football players, you don't even get a chance to go meet these players. Like, what are you doing? And, 5 years later, end up in a place and, people say you make your own luck. What they mean is you work really hard for no good reason, and then something happens. That conversation you had 5 years ago or leads to another conversation. You and I just had this conversation about your work with the NFL. Like, that didn't come because you used to work there and you were at a game and blah, blah. You're in a bar in the middle of the desert.
Literally. In a saloon with 5 other people in the middle of fucking Joshua Tree. And I ran into my buddy who ironically worked at NFL Network at the same time as me, but we didn't cross over. We were in different areas. And he recognized me. And what was interesting is everybody at the NFL thought I lived in Texas because I'm a Texans fan. And the conversation was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And I was like, "I live in Orange County, right over there." He's like, "Oh, we thought we wanted to reach out, but we thought you lived in Houston. This is way easier." And then that's how the relationship started. Next thing you know, I'm making videos. So it's just random chance.
So whenever you're thirsty in the desert, stop in. You never know.
You never know. Very random. And it's funny because like he and I know a lot of the same people, but we never knew each other, even though we worked there at the same time. So it's just, you never know.
Yeah. Keep those conversations open. Burn as few bridges as you have to. However, I would be remiss if I didn't say occasionally you gotta burn that son of a gun.
If the bridge is toxic,
yeah. There are a couple of times and there'll be times you want to and you don't, and 5 or 10 years later you thanks earlier you for not doing that. Like, oh man, did I ever want to make this bad and I didn't, and now look, this wouldn't have happened if I had. And those are good lessons too. But occasionally, very rarely, I can think of about 3 instances in my working career, which is now several decades, where I was like, nope, screw that. Like, go down. I have no use for you. And please, I don't think I'll ever have one in the future. Occasionally, you do have to burn the bridge.
Joe Proctor in chat says, "Are Brett and the other guy even watching?" We are. But if you hadn't noticed, this game has not exactly been a barn burner. We are what industry professionals call vamping. For the last 2 hours.
We could talk more about Baker Mayfield and Sean McVay, but, what's happening here is a quarterback that was signed this week came into a team that he has never played for before, and he's heating up in the fourth quarter in a game they're not completely out of. Like, they're not necessarily in it. He's got to do something they're down by 6. They got 3 minutes, but the only reason that they're that close is because he just heated up on a drive late in the game with a team that he literally just got to. Meanwhile, Raiders are playing some pretty sterling ball on defense.
Are they setting up for an onside?
Nah, they went deep. But the Raiders defense has held up really well tonight against, look, let's be honest, not the league's most potent offense this season, not even close. But Max Crosby's been killing it. Denzel Perryman's been smacking people around. Defensive backs have played pretty well with some exceptions, but not too many. Overall, Raiders defense has played really well. And Raiders offense has played, let's just say, well enough to win. But again, we said they were pretty one-dimensional coming in, that they had some stuff. You're going to hit the occasional shot to Adams, but mostly it's Josh Jacobs. Jacobs.
The Raiders can ice the game here. 25-yard line. If they get 3 first downs, game's over.
Oh. Okay. So the Rams know what they're going to try and do, which
run
is
and run.
What was it?
And run. And
That's
run,
right. Josh
and
Jacobs.
run.
Josh Jacobs.
So we're going to see all, I would say, cover one calls here. Everybody fucking flying downhill. If the Raiders have balls, knowing that it's going to be pack in the box, max fitting the run, I would like to see a hard play action fake, max protection. Give me a spear. It can be a two route concept with somebody leaking out into the flat just so you can get an easy completion to keep the clock running.
Chip leak.
Because you just need a completion. You don't even need yards. You need a completion to just keep the clock running. But I would like to see like a deep spear concept against a single high structure here off play action. And then just give me, we might get it.
You might. Well, they're going to wrap and
then
Ramsey are
fake
gonna
an
double
insert
Devontae.
here, fake an insert here, and then
nope, they're just flat out going to give it to him, and he's going to almost get it. Oh,
how do you let that happen in that situation? All right, I need to see the fit. Who fucked up? There's no way. They had the numbers. There's no way.
Yeah, there's enough guys inside. Is this Jones?
All right, give me the replay. Here we go. All right, so they're in.
Jones goes head up.
They're in tight.
Defensive lineman. Yeah, defensive lineman only gets a hand on him. Jones takes on the block. Like, he does his job. You can't expect a linebacker to two gap.
No, but the nose has to get off that block. That's
the nose
they still stopped him short. Oh, my God.
I know.
Do you go for it?
What?
Do you go for it?
Guess what they did? The Raiders.
Blitzed?
No. The Raiders, not the Rams.
Oh, I didn't see it. They cut back to the play so quick.
And
I don't blame them for it, but now if I'm the Raiders, I might legitimately go for it because if they burn a timeout. So if they go for it and they get it, game's over.
Oh, they're going to 2 minute. They get 2 minute here. They're not going to run past that.
I know, but I still might go for it.
Well,
on the other side of the 2 minute, because I mean you're 5-7. Who cares? You know, like one play, get 1 yard, and you can get out of here at 6-7, and then you give yourself a decent chance of getting back above 500 by the end of the year after starting out horribly.
Oh man, look at Bobby Wagner. Shoo.
Yeah. I would go for it because if you can't get a yard, you don't deserve to win anyway.
It's true. Bobby Wagner, poster, everybody knows. Really good football player.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, a little bit. Really good football player. Great play by him late in the game.
Brett, did you see that clip of Pat throwing his helmet during the Bengals game? I'm not surprised by that. I didn't see that clip because I just watched it on all 22. But I'm not surprised by that because the Bengals were frustrating the shit out of that offense. So, yeah. They're a scrappy bunch over there, man.
Yeah, and I mean, Bengals.
Oh, they are punting. You pussies. No wonder you're 5-7. Jesus.
I was gonna say, what do you really think of the call, Brett?
Are we playing to win or not?
Oh, wow. Seriously?
They got a really good bounce on that. Oh my God. The punter just bailed out Josh McDaniels. That's the punt of the fucking year.
The 2, man. The 2. How does that happen? Look at this roll.
That's just a player bailing out his head coach because, oh my God.
I feel like Snoop Dogg at this moment. I'm like, look at this roll. Wow.
That's one of the best punts I have ever seen in my entire life.
In a situation, it is ridiculous.
Give him the game ball.
Pretty much. So we went from not betting on kickers to, wow. You know what I said about Tutu Atwell pregame?
Huh.
A set of hands on that guy. Look at that catch, man. I mean, it's a nothing play. It's not going to go in any stat boxes. It's not probably going to affect the outcome of the game. Look at that play. No, that's situationally, it's going to be hard to find a better punt this season than that one.
A better punt any season.
Yeah.
I mean, just the spirit of Ray Guy possessing him in the big spot.
Yes.
My Lord.
Any Ray Guy mentions on this podcast, I am for. I am 100% for. Look at who they're going to. I mean, I know it's Baker. I know he's brand new. I know he doesn't
He
sort of know
loves
what's going.
himself some Tutu.
Yeah, he is like Tutu Atwell in the big spots. Give me Tutu Atwell.
What Snoop Dogg joke? Did I miss a Snoop Dogg joke?
You missed a Snoop Dogg joke.
I was paying attention to the putt. What was your Snoop Dogg joke?
I said I feel like Snoop Dogg in this moment. I'm like, look at that roll. Oh, there it is.
How can you tell EJ's a dad?
There it is. Oh, wait a minute. Flag which way? Going against who?
Oh man. I think they're calling a hold.
Yeah, that is a pick that never happened, I believe. Okay. Yeah. That's too bad. EJ missed so hard that Snoop Dogg joke. Oh.
No, I just wasn't paying attention.
No, that's what chat said. EJ missed so hard with that Snoop Dogg joke.
I feel like I might do an all 22 breakdown of a punt.
You might have been alt. Oh yeah, that was definite hold. Holy cow! Did he grab his hand and yank him? Look at Mayfield just watching it the whole way. He's like, nah. Yeah, sorry, Josh, you're not getting that one.
Josh
as an
Daniels.
as an OC, you'd be begging for that call. As a HC, you're like, no, we didn't do anything wrong. Uh-oh, Max. Oh. Holy cow.
I think it's about time to take Havenstein out behind the woodshed. Put him out of his misery.
Yeah, but Max wasn't the one that hit him. Like, Max touched him first, but whoever was coming up the middle smashed him
He's got
backwards.
to have, what, like 7-8 pressures this game? Like,
oh,
he's
easy.
Killing him.
Easy. He is.
Killing him.
They don't have an answer for him. And they're putting him out there on an island, which that's McVay's fault. Like, early second half, you should have been like, and here's a tight end for some help.
Unsportsmanlike on who? Oh, the defense. Oh,
yeah, it's not hitting the quarterback. Oh, this is Tillery. Oh, I'm with Josh there. Okay, don't watch Crosby. Watch the interior piece of this rush. So he gets outside. Watch this. Oh, bam! Helmet to helmet. Aye.
Is that what they called? No, they called unsportsmanlike conduct. Oh, because he knocked the ball out of his hand. Tillery, you idiot.
Oh, come on. That's not a lot.
I know, but you can't give him an excuse.
I understand that.
If Tony Correnti taught us anything, EJ, you can't give him an excuse.
Did he get it? Did he get it? Wow. Yeah. Huh?
Yo.
All right. Xenocide inspired me to download Underdog, and I won big. Here's your cut. Okay. Holy cow.
Tell me the slip. If that's the cut.
$49.99. If you're tipping the dealer $50. Thank you.
Tell me the slip now.
We are good friends with Underdog. They sponsored us last year. They still sponsor Brett on his other channel. We talk to them fairly often. I would love to see the slip. And thank you. That is incredibly generous.
Holy shit.
Uh-oh.
That's the tip.
Oh no. Are they going to do this?
I don't know. Baker just uncorked a beauty a couple plays ago.
Yeah, but here's another one across the middle. Like, he's keeping this thing going.
All right, Baker, I see you.
Dude, 23-yard line?
You got 3 plays, I think, maybe. 2 at minimum, maybe 3, depending on how quick we're going. But the fact that, no timeouts, punt of the fucking year.
Skoranek just going up and getting that over a defensive back that was in good coverage. Nate Hobbs is perfect. Look at him. But he's glued to him.
Dude, they had no timeouts on the other end of a 2-minute warning, starting at the 2-yard line. They're at the 23.
2.
That's insane. Baker, man.
All the Baker backers from OU are like, told you.
My dad's been an OU fan since the 60s.
Dad's freaking out right now, and there they got it.
Dude! Holy shit! Baker, you dog!
Look at McVay. He's like, that's right. I knew it. That's why I signed him. And you can't argue with the guy in this moment. Look at the Raiders. They're like, what is going on?
Baker,
We
let your
had
nuts
this.
hang, dude. Oh my god. Dude, McVay looks like he's drank a couple Four Locos himself.
Dude, Mayfield's going to need a wheelbarrow to walk into the Rams headquarters tomorrow.
Fuck. What a throw. What a drive.
I All right, how many people are hanging out? 389. I guarantee that number was higher earlier, and those folks are missing out. Stay to the end, man. This did not look like a game for like most of the game. 3.5 quarters. This was not a game. And I'll be damned if Baker didn't just make it a game.
What
Wow.
a drive. What a 2-drive sequence for Baker. Good Lord. That was incredible.
Dude, look at that throw.
I got to do a short on that tomorrow.
Look at that throw. That's exactly the throw Carr made to Devontae. That is the
That's
same throw
incredible.
that Carr made to Devontae earlier in the game. Same one.
So I'm going out to SoFi tomorrow because there's a lunch event in the Rams locker room, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be stained with champagne by the time I get there tomorrow. Because, man, this is nuts.
I'm speechless. Like,
This is just insane.
I mean, we got to shout out Van Jefferson, right? Van Jefferson, wide receiver coach's kid, killed it at the Senior Bowl. We liked him a lot. We were not surprised when he ascended to the status he did with the Rams and was hurt earlier this year, comes back, and is there a bigger catch? I realize that the Rams aren't going anywhere. The Raiders probably aren't going anywhere, but don't tell any of them that right now. Like, this game's on the line. Baker joined the team this week, and Van Jefferson, like, the two of them are flat out heroes at this point. This is crazy.
Oh my god.
Look at McVay's like, I can't believe that just happened. Do I still have a concussion from last week when I got hit in the jaw? Because this seems
Am I in a coma?
yeah, is this real? Am I dreaming? Because we left them 10 freaking seconds to basically get
if I'm a Raiders fan, so how many times has this happened to the Raiders this year? Just this season alone.
Yeah, but I mean,
snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. This is like the 4th game that they've lost
100%.
this year out of nowhere. Like, if I'm a Raiders fan, I am sick. Like, they should be like 9-4.
yeah, look, I don't think Josh McDaniels' job is in any jeopardy.
No, it's not.
Rampant speculation. Like, they're gonna give him another year to see what he can do to straighten this out. But yeah, as a Raiders fan, this is gutting.
And also,
Bad pick.
Jerry Tillery getting his ass cut tomorrow.
It's over. Bad pick.
Like, Jerry Tillery is getting cut tomorrow.
I'm
He is.
staggered. Like, this is, man, Baker Mayfield has legend, and it just grew like the Grinch's heart.
I'm amazed because this game was nothing for
this game
55 minutes.
This was the Raiders game for well over 3.5 quarters. It was purely the Raiders game. Rams had nothing. And then suddenly it's the Rams game. And it's all Baker. And it's unreal.
Max Crosby's beside himself. He's like, what else
He
do I have to
should-
do?
Well,
What else do I have to do?
He should be really angry right now because he played awesome. Like,
Yeah.
we called him out 4 or 5 times during this game, just whipping the left tackle. Like, one-on-one, just whipping the left tackle. Ugh.
What a fucking game, man.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, what was a nothing burger becomes a real Baker classic. You got to give the guy credit. Having just showed up. I mean, just got off the damn plane. And He shows up and wins a football game with a bunch of guys that he's basically never played with before. That is something else.
And you can think how you want to think about Baker, about the attitude and what's happened in the past, but even in Cleveland, when talking to my buddies in that building, there was a lot of people that really loved Baker because, I mean, he played through so many injuries. His shoulder was Swiss cheese, and he still was out there fighting for his teammates. Like, he had a lot of fans in that building because he laid it all out in the line. He played hurt.
Yeah, he played crushed.
He cares. He really does care. And so I'm happy for him in this moment because he got it. He got it.
But so many, I mean, they're showing the Skoranek catch again. And I mean, the Tillery penalty. There's like any moment in the NFL that occurs like this, it's multiple little tiny moments that lead up to it. Game of inches, we say. That's just code for you got a couple of things can go either way. And it's just amazing when multiples of them stack together to create a result like this. Wow. Again, this was a nothing Thursday game. We were talking about Avatar for most of the third quarter.
That's true.
And
Avatar and F1, yeah.
And that was with good reason because there wasn't a lot else to talk about. And now this is going to be talk show fodder for the next 2 or 3 days because what? I've seen Christmas movies more realistic than this.
Oh, man. What a finish. What a finish. I'm happy for Baker.
Unreal.
JJ for $5. With the Rams doing that, I have a chance at a $1,200 bet out of it just 30. What's the bet? Were you betting Rams money line? That's nuts. James Coons for $2. If that's the worst Panthers quarterback, they must be great. Maybe not. Oh, God. Oh, man. I don't know if what other super chats we missed. If we did miss your super chat, I really do apologize. Please DM me and EJ tonight, and we'll have a conversation. We try to keep up with them as best we can while the game's going, but I understand that inevitably we're going to miss some because of how fast everything moves. So if we missed them, please, I want to have a conversation with you guys to answer whatever questions you might have. Please hit me up through DMs. We'll chat. We'll talk. And with that, EJ, I'm going to go calm down in a silent, dark room for a little while.
I think maybe. I mean, I'm only wearing a Raiders t-shirt and I feel half gutted. Yeah. I'm like, wait, what? Man. And so many Raiders fans in SoCal, again, from their run there previously. And just, they have a strong, strong fan base in Southern California. That game was probably easily half Raiders fans. And the air went out of the building. Holy cow, do they find ways to lose? They're going to have to get over that. But for tonight, McVay and the Rams get one in their own building. That was, I would just say, in the most unlikely way I can imagine.
Parlay for JJ. Parlay Rams plus 6.5, Steelers minus 2.5, Eagles minus 6.5, Bills minus 9.5, Chiefs minus 9.5, Chargers plus 3.5. You got a decent shot.
You could be all right. Oh, we should show the slip one more time.
I think we missed on it. I think we missed on it.
Yeah, I was going to say we got Tutu. I think you got Jacobs. Let me double check.
Yep. Oh, nope. He hit it. Oh my God. He hit 114.
That's bad beat territory. The Raiders taking bad beats left and right.
You got to be kidding me. Half a yard? Bro.
Never say statisticians don't matter. All right, I gotta blow this up big. All right, so Jacobs is a no.
Jacobs is a no. Wagner's a yes. Tutu's a yes. Mack is
Carr
a no.
was
no. We missed
Carr
on
was
that
not
one.
even close. That slip is toast.
Both of them are toast, actually. Shit.
All right, we gotta rally up. As a thing, since the Justin Free Square is still available to everybody because Justin Herbert is playing on Sunday, what I'll do tomorrow is put out some of the lines that I really like off Prize Picks for the Sunday games that you could match with the Justin Herbert Free Square to put together a Sunday slate of your own, still sign up with Prize Picks. Use our code bootleg. Get your first up to $100 matched by Prize Picks. Means you put in up to $100, you would get $100 from them as well. You'd have 200. And this week, of course, great time to do it because you're getting the free square with Justin Herbert. I'll put out some lines tomorrow on Twitter. If you don't follow me there, it's at FootballEJ. Check it out. I'll put 5 or 6 out there. You can take your pick to put together, a few. Put together your own 5-line or 6-line parlay.
Well, you only need to hit 3 to have it pay out. So technically, you only need to hit 2 because Justin's going to hit for you. So as long as you can hit 2 out of the other 4, you'll make money. So that's not bad.
I think we can do that. So I'll drop those lines tomorrow. Look for that on Twitter. But thanks so much for hanging out with us. This one was unexpectedly cool and interesting at the end. So cheers to you if you hung around to the very end and listen to all the Avatar talk just to get some good football in at the end.
We'll see you guys very soon for next week's episode. And until then, later.
Take care.
And we're out.